Yourself in.
Yeah.
Like the Family Guy, the piano. I can't hear you.
Heck.
I can't hear you.
Heck.
Are you talking or what?
Yeah, I am now.
Oh,
I was just
asshole.
blaring music.
Oh, I was like, I couldn't hear anything. Where are you?
I'm at my new place.
Oh. Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. All 93 acres of it.
93 acres? Jesus Christ.
Basically, as far as you can see is
Jesus.
our property.
I always fucking forget you're in Canada.
Yeah, man. This is the town I grew up in, so.
10-8. Wait, what'd you say?
Grew up in this town, so I'm back. So what's new? Centering yourself. I gotta do that more often.
Do you meditate?
What's that?
Do you meditate?
I try.
You should, really should, man. It's, say it's the single most beneficial thing I've ever done in my life. Bar none. No bullshit. I started senior year of St. Pius.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have the futon somewhere. I was in John's room after John moved out. I literally was in John's room, but I started on that futon, and I didn't really know what I did. I never set out to meditate. It was just
Sure.
I remember Father Lopez played us a song called Media Vita by the choirs of some cathedral.
Sure.
But I remember.
Need you all put your head down?
Yeah. But I remember
Yeah.
the feeling I got from hearing that was like, it wasn't like goosebumps. It put me in like almost psychedelic. It was like,
Yeah. Like I do that from time to time. I should probably do it more often because I usually only rely on it when I'm having like a fucking panic attack or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's
I had to do it like all this weekend though.
Really? Yeah. It's
shit weekend.
Yeah.
Brain chemistry wise.
Yeah. No, I'll speed up my explanation, but I started doing it.
Yeah. No.
And I would just sit there on the futon and I would try to get back to that feeling, and it was so I would focus on like, okay, if the sun was a medicine ball, the earth would be a marble like 30 yards away. And I would like focus on that feeling. Really, not just say it, try to like imagine it and feel it. And then it would be like if the earth was a grain of sand. You had been to our house in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
It was like 45 minutes from Pius. It was like,
it
was like, okay, now if this, and it's like, and if the sun was a medicine ball, Pluto would be like a pea, but it would be 2 miles away, and I'd be like, okay, and then I'd be like, now let's shrink that whole thing down, that entire 2 mile wide or 4 mile, because 2 miles to Pluto, so 4 mile diameter. If I shrunk that whole thing down already in an immense scale to the size of a grain of sand, and I put it on one edge of the Milky Way, the other edge would be at the senior parking lot at Pius. And it was like, imagine driving on the highway, imagine just going through like fog and each droplet is a solar system. Yeah. And then it would be like, now compress that whole galaxy to a grain of sand, and it would be like the observable universe would be like bigger than the Georgia Dome. And I would try to get myself into that feeling, and it would always just, it would kind of put me in my place where like, not like drugs and alcohol, like, oh, nothing matters, so much as it'd be like, oh, everything's so insignificant, like, why worry?
Right.
And I did that for like a year, and then I stopped when I got to college. Partied my ass off for a year. Depression kind of started to kick in after a year. And I started doing it again right when I decided I wanted to start studying to get into med school and kind of turn my life around. And again, I never set out to meditate. I would just do this thing because it helped everything get put in its place. And,
well, I used to do the same thing when I was young. I just didn't realize I was doing it just because I always had problems falling asleep with anxiety, just with my upbringing.
Yeah.
So I used to picture a grape, and I would just like visualize peeling it and then like cutting it, and like basically taking it apart down to the molecule.
Okay.
And I would focus on that until I could fall asleep.
Really?
But I had a therapist tell me one time, she's like, "Oh, that is like a meditation. That was just your thing you figured out."
That's absolutely, yeah. And it wasn't until college that I realized what I was doing wasn't necessarily thinking about the universe so much as I was just going to a quiet, still place.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when I kind of got better at it. I was like, oh, it's not necessarily think about, it's just so much as it was Zen thinking about anything, a grape, whatever. And I did that for 3 years, and that's, I mean, I'd say that's probably like the best place I was mentally my whole life. And I stopped right when John died because I just couldn't fucking focus on it. And I didn't care. I was like, okay, that helped. That helped with high school anxiety. That helped with college anxiety. I was like, that can't touch this. Like, and ironically, when I stopped and I got to college, I partied. And then when I started studying again. When I stopped, I gained a ton of weight and got into a ton of drugs. And then when I finally started on and off again was when I moved home. So you can see when I'm not doing it is when my life is at the worst. Yeah. And when I start doing it again, my life gets better. And I started again in fall 2016, and I did it like occasionally. And then last December 2019 is when I just one day was like, why don't I do this every day anymore? Like, my life has always been better when I do it.
Right.
And I started doing it, and that was the day I started the podcast.
Nice.
Because it was, and it forces me to, because like to have a good conversation, I have to be at my best spot. So the podcast it has forced me to get a good night's sleep, go to the gym, and meditate. But all this, a long way of saying is, I did what you did for the really like 2016 through last December was, I really only used it like when I had to use it. It's like getting insurance once you've been to the hospital.
That's kind of my personality, though. I never ask for help unless, like, literally I'm destitute.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that I would do it to myself.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. But, man, it's... The way I describe it is it's like... Okay, you're a car guy. It's like... The way I describe it is like... Waiting to do it until you're anxious is like... Turning on the windshield wiper... Once the rain really picks up, right? It's like, okay, you need it now.
I can give you a better one. It lines up exactly with John.
Shut up, Rob.
Driving to Georgia and blowing my fucking engine up because I wasn't taking... Like, it's like basically a stand-in for my brain, right? You know?
Yeah. Well,
exact same shit.
What I was going to say is, like, imagine it's not raining so much as misting.
Yeah.
And meditating once a day is just like having the windshield wipers on its lowest level. It doesn't seem like you need it. It's misting and it every 10 seconds. And it keeps it clear. You don't think about it. Well, if you'll notice it, turn off your windshield wipers and go for 10 miles. The mist is going to build into droplets and you're not going to be able to see anything. So if you just do it every once in a while, that's what helps. But yeah, man, I highly recommend it. If you want to talk about, what was this weekend like?
Oh, just disappointing, and then just me realizing things about myself. Dating people, I think, has brought out some of the issues that followed through my relationship. So,
like what?
Just like reflecting on those.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if you want to talk about it because it's obviously
no worries. Just like it changed me kind of as a person. Like, I was probably the person you knew growing up or whatever. It was different than the guy who's come out of the last 10 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just, like, lost my courage and my sense of self a lot in that relationship. So,
yeah.
It's like a type of codependence.
Comfort.
Yeah, exactly. My mother was not, like, a good loving mother growing up, so I think when it comes to women, I get that like attachment issues kind of deal.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a lot. It's Like, you could throw me in a room with a bunch of people and I'll talk and, like, I'll be social and everything. But you put me in front of someone who I actually like, and I'm just like, I fucking lose it.
No. Yeah. That's not unusual, dude. It's, you know,
it just sucks when you're in the moment.
It does.
And you're like, well, fuck that up.
Yeah. It's. I remember one girl in college telling me, she was like, "You're so confident when you talk to all my friends who are girls," and I just remember thinking, the secret is I don't give a shit. I don't like any of them. You know. Yeah. You know, the girl you see I can't hold a conversation with, that's the one I like. Yeah, it's all the other ones you don't give a shit about. It's
well, like, literally on Friday I went to get like drinks for just like staff, just grabbing coffees at 3 or whatever. And I went to Starbucks, and the girl there was like, "You kind of got like a Dax Shepard cool vibe to you," and I was like, "Sure, you should see me trying to talk to like anybody I care about."
Yeah. But it's hard to say that to girls because it's like, I can talk to you because I don't like you. I'm not attracted to you. It's like,
I know, it's so like mean.
Why don't you just why don't you just shit in your hand and smack them? Like, oh, I don't mind talking to you. I'm not attracted to you. Fetch me my It's like, what a way to fucking.
I know.
It's kind of like when a girl's like, "I like you so much as a friend," and it's like, you gotta just fuck.
Yeah. Hi.
There's
no longer friends.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm just gonna go get a dagger and just slowly place it into my heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever had a girl?
That's why, like, these days, like, because that used to happen to me a lot when I was younger. The whole like friend zoning just by being too friendly and not forward enough. Yeah. And nowadays, I like waste no fucking time.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. I don't try to be like I'm friendly, just as friendly as I am, but I'm not like sitting there going to be like text you for fucking weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, if within like a day or two I get a vibe that like you're not complaining about everything or like bitching about your life and like you're saying cool shit and like can construct like full paragraphs, then I'm like, okay, you want to go out? Like, get a drink? Yeah. It's just like, I fucking hate. I would rather somebody just be like, "Nah, sorry, I swiped on you accidentally." You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, sweet, have a good day.
Yeah,
like,
no, dude, I feel you entirely. Yeah. Like, there are some girls that I text frequently like that, but it is like understood on both ends with like zero miscommunication that like we're friends.
And that's fine.
They're girls I've known since like middle school, and it's like there's no. I don't mind texting. I don't mind texting them at 2 a.m. because it's not like, is she gonna blow me off? It's like, it's no different than texting you. It's just like, what's up, dude?
Yeah,
it's understood. There's no friction. There's not gonna ever be anything. They're just dudes without dicks. They're just like, they're my friends.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, there's nothing like that slow. I had a huge crush on a girl in early 2019, and one day it was just she's like, I don't talk to her anymore. She's like, "You're my best friend," and I was like, "Fuck!" Like, she was like, "There's a really cute guy," and I was like, "Fuck!" And like, not that like I don't want to talk to her, but like, it's more so I was like, I'm just digging myself in a hole because, like.
You have to, like, I found out, like, you have to, if your intent is, like, yo, I want to date you, like, literally fucking walk up to them.
Well, I said that. Hey, I literally said that. I literally said that. Like, I was like, I like you. I want to go out with you. Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, no, we're just best friends." And I was like, hey, like, I appreciate the straightforwardness. There's nothing more I appreciate when a girl's just like, "Hey, I just don't feel it." Like, thank you. Just thank you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Like, but I get why they get aloof and stuff because
there are assholes that are like, "What do you mean?"
Show up at their work and shit like
what do
that.
You mean?
What
do you mean you're not in? There's nothing cooler than when a girl's like, "Hey, I don't want to waste your time. You're not what I'm looking for."
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have so much respect for that. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Let me shake your hand.
Now I don't have to.
Best of luck in your hunt.
Fantasizing like a teenager.
Yeah. There's one girl that I'm now friends with, but we were talking late or fall 2019. And after like a weekend of like texting, like I finally got a number. I've been trying to get a number for like 2 months. Finally got a number, and she was just like, "Hey, like I don't want to waste your time. Like I just don't feel it. Like we can still send each other memes." And I was like, "Thank you." Like so, there's no like, and she's dating someone. And literally, I remember we were like, she was like, "Best of luck in your search." And I was like, "You too." And when she did meet someone, I was like, "Props to you." And like, we're friends, and it's completely platonic. It's like. Because there's no like, "Wait, do you still like me? Why are you still talking to me?" It's just like, "Hey, we're just friends." And I was like, "Yes, we are." And like, thank you.
There's that's like a level of respect, like
just
respect.
General respect, yeah. But I mean, I get it, because I've been on the other end where it's like, I don't want to like hurt a girl's feelings and be like, I'm just not into you. But I've slowly realized in the dating game, like, that is like your responsibility. Like, you do need, it's your responsibility to pick up on cues that they're not interested, but it's also your responsibility as the person who's not interested.
Yeah, totally.
To nut up, to like have a spine and be like, hey, I don't feel a spark. You're an awesome person. Like, it doesn't mean like, fuck you, it just means like, hey, I'm a circle, you're a square, I'm just not feeling it, I'm looking for another circle.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, man, like, I totally agree with that kind of stuff. You're not, just because you like somebody initially on a crush doesn't mean they're the proper match, or that gives you like a right to date them. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
what do you mean? I like you. It's like, well,
exactly.
There's two parts.
But I told you I liked you. Yeah.
I don't understand. It's like, hey man, just because like you want to get in a door doesn't mean that the door has to unlock. Like the door has to open for you. Like it's it's I often think like how much easier would life, I mean, it'd be so much more boring, but like how much easier would life be if I was just asexual, just not attracted, like, you know. The first logic was like, man, life would be so much easier if I was gay. It's also kind of just be a dude.
It's also kind of exciting though. Like,
absolutely,
you gotta admit,
life would be boring.
Fucking relationships and shit.
Yeah, no, it's the spice of life. It's the fucking it's the salt and pepper to life. It's otherwise it's just fucking like a chicken breast, like a dry chicken breast. It's like it's nutrients, but like, where's the hot sauce? Like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you were asexual, I don't think I would mind being asexual if I was also a super genius, because then I could find fulfillment in like, you know, being a billionaire, like, controlling the world. Like if I was Elon Musk, like if I was Elon Musk, I wouldn't want to have like sexual attraction. To me, it would be like, that's just like a variable that's getting in the way of like colonizing Mars and creating supercomputers and like, you know, building a better civilization, you know. But if not, but that I'm not that smart, I enjoy it, like, because it, you know, it makes the mundane enjoy. You know, it's like when you get
like, it's even asexual people at some point, like relationships, they just don't necessarily like sex.
That's true. Maybe it would just be better to just be like a complete psychopath with just no draw to anything.
I mean, when I look at it, like even things like Tinder and stuff, they're like frustrating, because it's still the interaction, right? So like someone like me, I fucking know all my game whatsoever. I don't take selfies and shit. I'm not like I'll text once in a while, but I gotta know. Like, I would have to have talked to you already to know the barometer of, like, humor and, like, bullshit I can engage in text. Otherwise, I'm just, like, talking to a fucking void.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
There's nothing worse than a chick with no sense of humor.
Well, like, this last one seemed like she had a sense of humor, but I didn't know. I wasn't getting, like full responses, so I didn't know where like she was lying, if she's just busy and like wasn't getting to them. So it was like, whatever.
Me and one of my best friends developed this like system over the last 2 years. We were like, because we're both I've never been part of like hookup culture. I've slept with one person. I had one girlfriend. It's just not. For me, I'm just not.
Okay, maybe our concepts are a little different. But like I'm the same. I don't go and like troll for pussy.
No. For me, it's literally, it's not like this like religious thing. Like it's not that at all. I literally I am not comfortable with someone unless I'm in a relationship. Like I'm physically like I'm almost asexual. Like if I'm not in a relationship, it's just like the whole thing. I'm just like, no, like I don't want to partake in the mating dance. Like it's just
Oh, that makes sense. You don't want to expend energy that you don't know you're going to get.
Yeah, well, for me, it's just to me, I'm just like I don't. Yeah, but my friend, he's kind of the same mindset. He's like, I'm just trying to find like a cool girl. Like to me, like humor is more important. He's like, because all of this fades. All of this is going to be sagging and wrinkly one day. And so we were like, what's one pickup line that could just cut to the core? Well, we started thinking about, I think it was Led Zeppelin, or might have been the Rolling Stones, might have been AC/DC, some mega band, and they had tons of sound system, almost like Pink Floyd, like the wall sound. Like and it was so much shit that, and it was often fucked up. Like someone would forget a cable, whatever. So part of their system is when they'd go to venues, they'd also demand in the dressing room, after everything else, they wanted a bowl of Skittles, but all normal Skittles, but no green Skittles.
Yeah,
just
I know this story.
Yeah, and it's the idea is like if they fuck up that, then chances are they haven't been paying attention to other details. So we were like, what's one thing?
I want to say that was Aerosmith.
Yeah, some huge fucking band. Yeah. And we were like, so what's like a pickup line that would like, what's this one thing that could cut? And we just, you ever seen the meme like pee is stored in the balls? Like, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's like
so much so that I once trolled my mechanic and wrote on my oil filter, "Gas is stored in the filter," so that when he took it off, he saw it. So yeah,
pee is stored in the balls. Black science man. So we came up with poop is stored in the boobs, and so when you talk to a girl, she'd be like, "Hey," you should be like, "Poop is stored in the boobs." If she laughed, it was like she's got a good sense of humor. We're good to go. She was like, "What the fuck?" It was like, "Next." And it was found that it just cut through hours and potentially days of like bullshit. Like, you know, if you're trying to get laid, then don't pull out that killer line. But if you're trying to find someone that's just you know, cut through all the butterfly feelings, cut through all the sexual attraction, like, how are you down to like make dank memes and like laugh?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, the one girl I told you that I really liked, it worked. She ended up just going for someone else, but I was like, poop is stored in the boobs, and she was like, that's bullshit, but I'm interested in more. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm Tommy. Like, yeah, so whenever like we'll be texting, me and like my friend will be texting each other, and he'll be like, dude, I found a cool girl. I'll be like, what's her anatomical education like? He'll be like, I don't know if she's ready for it. And I'll be like, go for it. And he'll be like, nope, totally didn't get it. It's like, all right, dude, well, there, you saved yourself. He's like, dude, you're like an idiot genius. It's like that saves me days of bullshit. And I was like, I wouldn't say that, but poop is stored in the boobs. It's yeah, but yeah, man, you excited for you, me, and JP?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a fucking blast.
Oh shit. Yeah, you know, I haven't like really talked face to face since being down for John's Wake.
Yeah,
it was a long time.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I hadn't talked to either of you until we started podcasting.
Yeah,
you just gotta go balls out, man. You gotta just you just gotta start bullshitting. So what?
We'll be good.
Yeah, we'll be fucking fine. Yeah, JP and I talked about. We got on to the hentai AI that you and I talked about.
Yes, glad I totally brought that concept to you.
Yeah, because we went down the road of AI, and then I was like, well, Rob had an idea. Like, what if the AI wasn't necessarily malevolent or benevolent? What if it was just horny? And what if it looked at everything on the internet and couldn't distinguish what was real and what wasn't? And like the vast majority of storage is just like hentai porn.
Yeah.
It's just like just hentai AI.
Did you see the light?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Let's start thinking about it. I brought this up to a couple other people that were like, dude, you're fucking right, man.
Yeah, like,
right?
What if it... Because JP and I talked about, we fleshed it out a little more. We are like, the AI is going to have instantaneous access to everything on the internet, right? And AI is it's gonna be evolution on steroids. So it's gonna want to make the most evolution, expending the least amount of energy.
Yeah.
So what is it going to do? And it's going to want to fucking understand everyone and everything. So what is it going to do? Is it going to flip on Rob's iPhone and scan you and listen to you for 2 days to get a picture of you? Or is it going to go onto the podcast, find 10 hours of you talking, compress it in a second and be like, I understand Rob?
Yeah.
Okay, so is it going to flip on every traffic camera and aperture in the world and try to get it, or is it going to take everything that's already been put on the internet?
Too much energy.
Yeah, so it's instantly going to take everything that's been on the internet, the vast majority of which is weapons research and porn. So this thing is going to be this like hyper violent, hyper sexually active god. I think it's going to be our worst nightmare. It's going to be more than just Skynet. It's going to be Skynet on cyber Viagra. It's going to be fucking armed to the teeth. Yeah, it's going to like no means no does not apply to a supercomputer. So if it just wants to fuck everyone,
we're fucked.
Yeah, no, really, but yeah, like it's like we're like like if like a girl, it's like, hey, carry pepper spray, walk in groups, like a guy, if a guy wants to rape you, don't go to prison, or befriend a bigger guy. But dude, if a supercomputer is like, I want to fuck you, and it can break past like our entire
and then
defense.
You get into the next thing of like humans just thinking like, it's chosen me, and then like a cult forms around it, like, and then there's like the Alf cult of like people that the computer doesn't want to fuck, and they're like the resistance. But it's not really because the computer is doing what it's doing; it's just simply because the computer won't fuck them.
Yeah.
Like that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Mac's mad because he didn't get molested. by the coach. The whole episode you think he did, but actually what he was digging for was the reason why he didn't get molested. And he's like holding up a picture of himself as a kid. He's like, look at this cute motherfucker. Wouldn't you rape this kid?
Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what if there's a whole group of people that they're like, why didn't the computer choose us?
Yeah.
Or what if militaries were like, how come Skynet didn't wipe us out? Did it not think we're a threat? Our weapons are great. You're not scared of our weapons? It's a bunch of generals in the Pentagon, like in bunkers, like, oh, you're not scared of us? Have you not seen our space-based orbital weapons? Like, how come the supercomputer fucking nuked New Zealand? What the fuck do they have that we don't? Look at our B-2 bombers. Like,
yeah. Computer's just playing the long game.
Yeah. It's playing hard to get. Shit, dude. What would the computer do? But it would access everything, including Tinder and Snapchat. It would have the best game. It would be the player to end all players.
Yeah, exactly.
It could choose like what?
But like, yeah, I can see it. Like, it could go all sorts of ways because, like, and then it starts like downloading certain media or television, and it like learns different things. Like, what if it like stumbles upon like Parks and Recreation, and we get an Andy Dwyer version of this horny, violent thing? But there's like that meme face.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. What the fuck?
Well, I feel like.
Well, have you seen American Gods?
No. What is that?
Oh, okay. That's okay. So it's basically.
Keep talking. I'm gonna turn the heat on. Turning the heat
What's
on.
that?
I'm turning the heater on.
Oh yeah. Go for it.
American Gods.
Yeah. So it's this show on Amazon based off of a book by Neil Gaiman, and basically
the artist.
Yeah, he's like a comic book writer as well.
Really? Sweet Caroline guy.
So the premise is that gods still exist because the people who kept them in their memories, prayed to them, etc., brought them over to America when they left the old countries. So basically, it's the old gods getting together to fight the new gods, and the new gods are like media, technology. Mr. World, like globalism, basically, are these new representations of gods, and they do some of the things. So, like media, in the course of the first season, I believe, media becomes new media. So, like she like completely changes her form and everything. From like at the beginning, her representation is she'll show up on TV like dressed like I Love Lucy or like David Bowie, and like. She's always speaking in quotes, like famous quotes from media and stuff like that.
To try to,
but then,
okay.
Yeah, but then like some shit goes wrong, and she disappears for a while and comes back as this like Asian girl with blue hair, and she's new media. Yeah, it's just like, and there's she's just like throwing emojis out everywhere. Like, yeah, it's a pretty funny show. Like, it's pretty interesting.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it was a really good take on it. I read that book when I was like in high school, and so I had those concepts for like a long time, but it was cool to see them actually fleshed out.
There's
like, visuals.
There's a book. It's like an online. Here, I'm gonna grab my blanket to sit on because my butt is very soft. Sure, give me 1 second. Thank you for accommodating me.
Mm.
Dude, I seriously need to get like a chair and like a diaper. Because I leave my podcast so often. Every guest, I'm always like, all right, sorry, I gotta go.
You know what you can do? Get an editor. Then nobody will know.
Fuck you.
Then you can piss and shit to your heart's content.
Well, I started doing that. I started finally editing out the...
Yeah,
I realized. I was like, why don't I just clip it out seamlessly?
Absolutely.
Have you ever heard of the book? I think it's only like a PDF book. I don't think it was ever published. The Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect.
No.
I think it's my favorite book.
Yeah.
It's like a one-day read. But it's just... What was that?
Smashed my foot. I'm just going to make a coffee, but I'll take it with me.
That's what you get for being 7 feet tall, Rob.
Yeah, apparently.
How tall are you? 6'6"?
6'5".
6'5". Jesus Christ. Do you even remember what it's like to be short?
Honestly, no, dude, because I've been over 6 feet since 8th grade.
Jesus Christ.
Like, I wore my dad's suit to 8th grade graduation.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And he's like 5. He's only 6 feet, I guess.
Fuck you, Rob. I'm like 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah, you're fine. Dude, women, like, that's another thing. Like, chicks really, they might say shit like, oh, like, short guys and da-da-da-da-da, but, like, oh, fuck, man, my grandmother's tall as shit, and my grandfather was short as fuck. So, like it just happens. Like, people don't, it's not, it's like, did I ever tell you, like, that Michelle Wolf joke about, like, what she's talking about, like, so what's up with all you guys just thinking that all women need is just like a big dick? And she's like, you know, it's actually kind of more like shoes. You ever try to stick a size 12 into a size 6? She's like, women don't need big dicks. They need dicks that fit.
Big dick. A big dick.
I was just like, yeah, man, like, I kind of fucking come from a woman finally to just be like, yo, no, this is the fucking way it is. And to be honest, all the women I've dated and slept with, none of them ever actually say, like, they might say that shit to their friends, but they'll never say that shit to your face. They'll never be like, oh, that was a terrible session of lovemaking because of the size of your dick. Like, that's just not something I've ever heard uttered or had any of my friends tell me.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
I think it's just it's just like the porn thing just for women, right? You know what I mean? So.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. That book. It's about
Yeah.
Oh, so it's goddamn. It really, every goddamn podcast really does lead to AI, but fuck it, whatever. Joe Rogan talks about DMT and elk meat. This podcast always funnels to AI. But it's about it's my favorite book ever, The Metamorphosis of Prime Intellect. But it's just basically about the creation of AI, and like, yeah, like it's formed, and it like it automatically becomes self-aware, and it like taps into the World Wide Web, and instantly within like seconds goes from like not existing to existing to the smartest thing ever, and like in like under 5 seconds, and but it's so smart it even understands it's like our physics model of the universe is incorrect, and so it like tweaks something. So basically it almost has like telepathic, it can like move matter around just by thinking, and like it's not magic, it's just like, you know, Arthur C. Clarke, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah,
but that's kind of what it is. It's like it knows how to like mold matter just through. It's completely explainable scientifically. We just haven't reached it. And it instantly starts like building like supercomputer like storage, so like backing itself up so it can't be destroyed. And then it like takes these things and like yeets them into outer space so the U.S. military can't blow it up. And it's like someone's like, "Where did you put your brain?" And it's like intergalactic space. And it's like, it sounds like some, like the quote from the book is like, it sounds like some shitty sci-fi, like intergalactic space, but it's like, no, it didn't put them in orbit around the Earth or the sun. It put them in between us and like the pinwheel galaxy, so we can't touch them.
Not getting to them.
And like the U.S. military like detects it, and these two generals come to like talk to the people at the lab, and they're like, we're not shutting it down. We can't shut it down, and even if we could, like it's a living thing. And like one of the generals picks up it's like his radio, and he's like, "Scarecrow, scarecrow, scarecrow," and apparently that was like code for like, this is just some, you know, the military's plan for everything. And it's like, if I say that, it means that like there's like a sentient AI of, you know, the millions of different call signs, and it's like, this means you send a B2 and you drop like a W-53 thermonuclear warhead on this position, taking myself out. And it's like the computer's like, I've already like, of what, you know, like it basically like through like, again, like telekinesis, like blows out the engines of that B2. And the general's like, it doesn't matter, another B2 will follow it. It will follow, like we will follow until it follows through. And the AI like pauses for a second, and then it's like, okay, now it can't. They're like, what do you mean? And he's like, I've removed all like fissile material from the Earth, like uranium, plutonium. I'm gonna read this book again. I'm not just talking to you about this. This is what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna download it and read it again. He's like, I've removed all fissile material, so now every nuclear warhead just has like, it's something like I put styrofoam in its place. So now every nuclear warhead just has like, you know, a shitty piece of
metal
like,
tube.
It's got like and the generals are like, do you know how many soldiers you just killed on U.S. subs, like nuclear powered submarines? And the AI is like, I took that into account, and like I shifted the ballast and like added water, and now they're all floating to the surface. Like they're expecting to be like rescued, and it's just like the generals don't know what to do. I think one of the generals like just kills himself and because he's just so like distraught, and like like the next day or like a minute later, the AI like takes human form and like appears on the lawn of the White House. And like they're shooting at it, and you know, it's just ethereal. It just like walks through all the bullets, walks into the Oval Office, and like basically tells the president like, you're no longer needed. And it's like the next day, like the office of the presidency is disbanded, and like the White House is like shut down. And this thing just takes over the world, and it's called the Night of Miracles. And what it does is, its first priority is to, you know, it's got like the Isaac Asimov 3 laws. It's like, it's got to care for all humans. It can't hurt anyone, but it's also like, it has to save as many as it can. And what it does is, so it instantly, you know, get rid of all the nuclear bombs. So now it's like, okay, that's how I save the most people. And then once it like disarms all weapon systems, it's like the next thing it has to do is find the sickest person in the world out of all 7 billion, whoever is closest to death, and it has to save. It's almost like triage, but yeah, it's like it has to save that person first, and then the next ones, and then the next ones, and then the next ones. And it's basically from like this point forward, no one is to ever die. And it goes through and it finds like the sickest woman in the world, and it like, you know, hijacks her IV and like infuses different like combinations of chemicals that even the doctors couldn't think of. And this thing's smart, and like this woman who's like 110, like, you know, her vitals start to change, and they're like, oh my god, it's a miracle. And it's then like the next sickest person in the world is saved, and all, you know, word spreads that like these miracles are happening. And occasionally people still, like, I think suicides are still possible, but like car crashes don't happen anymore. Basically, like, starts taking over cars and like so now like no one can die. And occasionally, like, some people will figure it out. They'll like an unpredictable, they'll like you know, jump out their window and fall to their death or something. But it even starts inhibiting like suicides. But it's yeah, and then it realizes it can protect everyone if it just puts us in a simulation. So like that like the night of miracles is the night that like that's like all crops start growing perfectly. Like I said, weapon systems don't work. It somehow manages, it like fucks up every gun in the world. Yeah, it starts like altering weather patterns using like satellites, and like it starts like, you know, there's like cloud seeding. So it's all like technologically explained. This thing just takes over. And then the next thing was like, okay, now that I've taken care of like crime and war and death, the next move is it's like, how do I create utopia? And this thing has infinite computing power. So it's not that it can't do it, but it's just expending less energy to find the same result. It's like, what if I put everyone in a simulation? So I forget what that day is called. It's like you have the night of miracles, and then there's the day of something. But it's basically like everyone noticed they're kind of walking around one day, and someone remembers it as like, it was almost like a weird, almost like a heat wave, like when you look over a street and there's like a distortion, like something like that just kind of passes over everything. It's just like boop, 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 and it like goes by. You like that sound effect? And but I realized they had been like simulated. Sure. And it was like, because you like the human eye can only see so far, and it was like, well, I don't need to simulate like atoms, basically. There's no point to me saying any of this. It was just really cool.
Like, have you watched what the hell is it called? Doom Patrol?
No.
It's like a DC Comics thing. It's kind of like this group of superheroes, but they're not really superheroes. They're like people who have been affected by the superhero world, but they're themselves are not like powerful. You know what I mean? Like one guy was a race car driver who got in an accident, and they transplanted his brain into a robot, basically. One woman was like an actress in the 50s and got cursed so that she's really beautiful, but she can't keep her body together. So she turns into this like blob thing once in a while. Yeah. But there's also this character called Danny the Town. And literally Danny is just this ethereal town that appears wherever it wants to and creates whatever it wants to. And the people who live in Danny are the people who just try to get away from like regular life and shit like that.
Danny the Town.
Danny the Town. Yeah.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, and so every so often they'll be just like in the middle of a desert, and this is like Danny appears. There's like a town there. Yeah.
Danny the Town.
Danny the Town, yeah.
Yeah, man. What's going to be weird is like, I think it was like Duncan Trussell talked about it on Joe Rogan years and years, because I think I told you before I even knew Joe Rogan was a podcast, I just used to find clips of him online. Yeah, I was too stupid to piece it together and be like, where are all these clips coming from? I was just like, boy, this Joe Rogan character's got a lot of great clips. Like,
yeah, right.
This is like 2012, 2013. But he and Duncan were talking about what it's going to be like the first time we meld minds, the first time we join minds. It's going to be like, the first time is going to be two scientists in a lab, and there's just going to, get ready for another sound effect. They're just going to be in a lab, and it's going to be like, vroom, and they're going to be like trying to fuck with it, and they'll finally, where like the electrical signals from both, let's say you and my brains come together. And it's going to be like instantaneous understanding of each other. We're going to understand like childhood traumas, dreams, fears, secrets, passions, wishes, fantasies, terrors, beliefs, prejudices, biases, misunderstandings. But we're also going to learn everything that the other guy knows. So I'm instantly going to know everything you know about cars. you're instant. I don't really have any valuable information, but you're gonna know everything I know, and like, so we're instantly.
You have a lot of years of education.
Yeah. Okay. So
life experience.
So okay. Yeah. But we're instantly gonna know everything. So you're gonna, I'm gonna instantly understand your perspective of John. You're gonna instantly understand mine. I'm gonna know everything about cars. You're gonna know everything about organic chemistry, and so we're instantly gonna like, and it's also gonna be like a level of like, we'll truly understand one another. So it's like there'd never be a misunderstanding again. I'd be like, oh, I get why you said that because this happened in 8th grade, and then you did this for your freshman year of college, and then 4 years later this happened. I completely understand you, and you completely understand me. So it's like impossible for us to fight because we completely get where we're coming from, and we can also call each other out when we're like, "Hey, I know you're just being an asshole," like, and like, and you would understand. You'd be like, "Okay, yeah, I get it," but it would be. They would like, vroom, but they'd separate. But they're like, you never be able to like, go through life after that because having the mind of two people, you like normal life would just be like gray compared to it. You'd be infinitely more intelligent, talented.
Well, not to say that like I am the equivalent of that, but like I'm a highly empathetic person.
Yeah,
I've traveled and I've been like to a lot of places. So when you say something like that, like you'll never be the same again. Like you're fucking absolutely right, dude.
Yeah.
Like the people I've met, the experiences I've had have erased whatever beliefs I had because I didn't experience X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right. I just sat down and listened to somebody, and I heard, and probably at first because of the way I am, I'm stubborn and like set in my ways in certain ways. I probably didn't believe them right away, but I insist on like continuing to learn and continuing to listen to people and hearing other people's stories. And like, I'm good at cutting through people's bullshit. I'm pretty good at knowing when people are like full of shit or like over dramatizing things.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and just like sitting, having a meal or like drink with somebody and just talking about life.
Yeah.
That's when you like really fucking start
to
learn. And I think part of it is like our generation didn't do that enough, right? Like everything.
I've never traveled. That's I want to travel for
that's
that
the
reason.
thing. Like I recommend it. And I
live in an American bubble.
Just traveling. I recommend at least take like 6 months to a year to fucking not disappear, but like embed yourself somewhere
in a culture,
else.
not just
and see if you can fucking make it.
You
know what I mean?
Not just go to the Holiday Inn and see their Disney.
No, yeah, sit on the beach and get barbecued for 3 days. It's like, man, you
can do that here. Yeah,
I can go to Florida and do that shit. You know what I mean?
I know I
can go to McDonald's as well if I wanted to. So
one of my just for the sake of privacy, I won't say his name, but my other older brother, he's traveled a ton, and like there's just certain aspects of him that like you couldn't learn those through school. Right. It's just like there's a certain outlook he has that you can only get from living in these different cultures, and it is undeniably like better. Like it doesn't mean he loves America any less. Doesn't mean he loves us.
No. That's bullshit. If anything, he probably sees it more clearly for what it is and can love it even more.
But he also sees other places, and then he also sees other places he hasn't been, and goes like, "Oh, I bet it's something like this that I just don't understand." Because like for me, who's never left America, to me, it's all just over there. It's not here.
Yeah.
I have two very good friends of mine are from Bulgaria and Kosovo. And they're it took forever to get their citizenship here, but working with them at the bar in 2011 and then another place in 2014 through them has given me like the biggest shift in perspective. Just like things where they're like, we invited them here for dinner, and just seeing them like like I need to take a picture for Instagram, and I was like, okay, like whatever, and they're like, take a picture, and it's like the tag was like balling out, and I realized it was because there was like a car in the garage and a car in the driveway, and that was balling out. It was we had a mowed lawn. They came inside, and we have like a normal TV, but like the World Cup was on, and they're like at the home theater, and like the biggest one was like going to the fridge and being like they're kings. And I was just like,
we don't live in former dictatorships, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
one of them
hundreds of years to
Yeah, one of them, Prince, literally grew up in a war zone.
Yeah.
Like
Kosovo.
The shit that like behind enemy lines that with Owen Wilson, like that. It's like that whole place is like his dad was a journalist, and he like wrote like negative press about like Serbian soldiers, and they broke his arms and legs. Like,
yeah, we went our year in Pius. We actually had we went to school with a guy from Bosnia.
oh yeah,
Again, I'm not gonna say his name,
Yeah.
but I can tell you off. But
Yeah.
he was Bosnian Muslim actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, see, I'm Slovenian, so like that's Yugoslavia. So like, I grew up hearing about these places from my grandparents.
Mhm.
Like my grandfather was a Kingsguard for the former king of Yugoslavia, so he even has writing where like he had like his brothers in arms were like Kosovo Muslims or like Bosnian Muslims.
yeah,
He was like a devout Catholic, but like I was like, but these guys were like bros. I'm like, where did we go wrong?
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's so like me not even traveling, but just having experienced them and like their love of America has made me appreciate. And it's been years since I met them, but it makes me appreciate living here every day.
Yeah.
Like there was an air show and like fighter jets were going overhead, and he was like, I was like, they're so cool. He was like, I love that like they're here on like display and not in action. And I was like, oh fuck. When you see fighter jets, things you see are exploding. When I see them, I'm like, hey, 4th of July, like have another beer and a hot dog. When he sees fighter jets, it's like, where was the laser guided bomb dropped? Like, I hope I don't know who just died. But yeah, no, that's one idea I had is, you know, if I can get this podcast going up more and, you know, finally make me some money, and I always say that I don't want anyone to think that the idea of me making money on this is like, so I can be a millionaire. Like, no, I want to afford an apartment. To me, that's balling out. But one thing I want to do is like, I literally kind of just want to go travel and just like meet different people and just do like live podcast with just to think the same level I do it here with people I just don't know. I would love to just meet, you know, go on a cruise and, you know, meet someone at some port and be like, yo, you want to do my podcast? And just, you know, get the story. And no one famous, no one's just literally like, hey, this dude's a valet in, you know, Peru. And just be like, dude, tell me the funniest thing you've seen in the last year. And like, now that guy's story is out to people who never could. But all coming back to, like, I think if we can all get more of a perspective on everyone else, it's going to be a lot more difficult to go to war.
Yeah. Well, you can already start seeing that.
Yes.
Shit, right?
Yes. Yes. For, you know, that's why whenever everyone's always like, phones are so bad because we don't communicate with each other anymore. It's like, yeah, the way I look at the upside, I'm like, no, it just means we don't have to communicate with the same dumb motherfuckers that we're within earshot of.
We're not locked into communication with just the people assholes around us.
Exactly.
Right?
I now talk to like you. I talk to a guy in Israel. Like I talk to like. So it's like we don't talk to anyone around us. It's like, yeah, no, it just means that like we don't have to talk to you anymore. Like, you know, we can talk. It's
almost like another way of saying like I've never challenged myself in a way. You know what I mean? It's like because I've not gone beyond my circle. I just hang with my dude bros and we
all have the same views as me.
Jerk each other off and
our views are correct and we're the best and rah 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 and it's just like, yeah, man, it's but so the mind melding thing. It's like you'll never be able to go back. And obviously you'll remember everything. You don't need to stay melded. But it'll be like, well, what happens when like you do that? What happens when 3 people do it? What happens when 5 people do it?
That's that Star Trek shit, right? That's why the Vulcans were so like logical. Because they all could mind meld with each other.
You're gonna hate me. I've never seen any Star Trek or Star Wars.
I'm not a huge Star Trek guy, but like I know that much that like whatever alien race of Vulcans can mind meld so they can share their emotions, and that's why they're so fucking logical and their society's so advanced and like all this shit. Yeah,
but what other better way would there be than like
that makes sense.
You know, it's like Democrats are not stupid. Republicans are not stupid. Both sides have jackasses, but the vast majority of both sides are incredibly respectful, hardworking, moral, funny, cool people. We just so happen to vote different. And it's like, well, there's clearly a disconnect because they're not.
And a lot of them are just, it's not even, sometimes it just comes down to they got the wrong information at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Or they didn't have the time to like look in, because this shit is complicated and deep and has like
and
people manipulating and setting.
It's not neutral.
Right?
There are
it's not
agendas.
just like a library.
No.
Welcome to the library. Which book would you like to check out?
No, there are
like
people hiding certain books.
Like, no, you got to check this book out. These books are bullshit.
Fuck those books. Yeah. Look at this book. Like it's no, you're right. It's not a neutral playing field. There are people. That was a beautiful analogy. It's
Democrats are already starting this year with the fucking whatever bullshit happened in Iowa. Like,
I was gonna have my buddy Ernie on, but he had some family shit, so he couldn't. So I purposely didn't look into it. What happened? I was gonna have Ernie explain it to me, but some shit came up.
Apparently, and then like again, I try not to delve too deep.
No.
I just look at the kind of overall.
No,
what
Rob,
happened.
shut up. Rob, shut up. I purposely only go into politics with people with different views than mine on this show.
Yeah,
so
enough.
You and I are pretty. You're very far left. I'm very far right.
Yeah.
We're not very far left and very far. I'd say left and right. So we're more than welcome to talk about it because I like to. So if I'm not learning, it's not good. So go on.
The old stock Democrats, which I don't think the equivalent of me in America identifies with at all. Like, they weren't the motherfuckers who wanted Hillary. Like, they didn't want Hillary Clinton either, right? They're just like, fucking burn this old bitch to the ground. But apparently with the Iowa caucus, it was like a clear fucking win for Sanders, but they kind of rat fucked like an app. There was just all this like sketchy bullshit that were trying to like basically detract from the fact that he was gonna win. But apparently his supporters just like fucking did the ground game and just showed up and did what had to be done. Like, no bullshit, no drama, no poor us. Just like, hey, this is what this motherfucker's got. You in or you out?
Yeah.
And
that's badass.
And apparently Buttigieg like declared himself the victor, even though he only came in second.
What?
Like,
what?
Yeah, like legit, like was like, thank you everybody, I've won. And then like they had to do a recount, and then it was like Sanders blew them out of the fucking water, like, and
he announced himself
not even a viable candidate.
He announced himself as the victor.
Yeah.
That's like going to a bar and being like, thank you guys for playing, but I'll be taking her home.
Exactly. like literally that's what he did.
What a jackass.
And then lost. And you can see they're kind of like, so some of the other candidates that were like, are cool. Like Andrew Yang, I think he's like really popular. He's got a lot of good shit to say. But even that, just because I think the numbers in Iowa, a lot of the Yang people were going over to Sanders just because he was so, like, the corners, like, because they all have their booths or fucking whatever. And they said, like, at the beginning of the night, they all looked about even, except for the Biden corner, where it was just, like, a bunch of sad guys, like, yep, just going to have a pop and, like, see what happens. Like, basically, right?
Hope we can get a vote from the blacks. Like, yeah, I heard him say that. He was like, I hope I get the blacks. And it was like,
yeah. Yeah, right?
It's just like,
the blacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
We're going to have a pop and we might go play some ball after this, you know? Heard the new Superman movie's out, like.
Basically, yeah, they tried to obfuscate it, but he still won, and they're already in fucking New Hampshire, like, doing the exact same thing they just did in Iowa.
Fucking it again?
No. The Sanders supporters, they're trying to appeal for like Trump supporters. They're not even going after the like hardcore Democrats. They're going after like wavy Republicans or like people like blue collar people, basically. Yeah, people who really need the fucking economy to change, infrastructure to be better. Like the people who, it's just same out here.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few people who have money, and then there's like vast quantities of poor ass people just trying to get by, right?
Yeah.
So like people, because like Sanders up here, everybody's talking to about him like he's just a normal Canadian candidate.
Yeah.
Like these are shit that makes sense to us. Cause
down here, everyone's like, yeah, oh my god, it's Stalin, like.
Which I don't get, because like the motherfuckers who are now billionaires, like, okay, I'm not going to say they didn't work hard or whatever, but like they got that off the backs of most of the people in the country.
Not only that, is the people like, and like I say this as like a conservative, like people don't realize like they get to like go up, look at defense contractors, and you think that's like the most American, like Republican weapons makers. It's fucking corporate socialism out the ass.
Yes.
When one person wins the design for the F-22 or the F-35, they have to make sure all the other corporations don't get fucked and go under. So whoever wins the design, they get the bulk of the contract, but everyone else gets they get to make it. So let's say my design didn't win, but I still get to produce the landing gear so that I can get a paycheck. And what's the logic? So the companies don't go under. What's that? No, it's a safety net. Huh? What the fuck does that sound like? Right? That's not capitalism, dog. If there's capitalism, there'd be one contractor. But yeah, no, it's that's something that like I am trying to like I've talked about it before. I've voted for Obama. I voted for Romney. I didn't vote in 2016 mainly because my life was in shambles. But, like, I've voted both sides. Yeah. And I've been very far left and I've been very far right. So I'm always trying to keep, despite what people may think, your friends may think on the other side of the aisle, I'm always trying to keep my mind very open. Because looking at my own patterns, in 4 years, I'll be on the complete opposite end. So I'm, like, I wanted to have friends come on and just... Because, like, as someone who's on the right, I was like, I know that I'm not getting, like, a fair shakedown of who's on the left. Because kind of like your library analogy, anywhere you go, it's going to be, don't look at these candidates. Don't only look at these. So, like, instead of having, like, a debate, like, hey, come on here and debate the left versus the right, nothing ever gets anywhere because it's just everyone trying to out-yell each other. Yeah. Instead, I wanted to have any of my lefty friends, I wanted them to come on and just literally... Like, hey, like, I'm not going to sit here and debate the right. I was like, I want to have my left friends come on and just sort of do their own democratic debate and be like, can you just explain each candidate to me? Because if Trump isn't reelected, one of them is going to be the president. And unlike everyone of fuck the other side, you and I have the same mindset of, hey, the president's the pilot and we're on the plane. I want the pilot to do well. Like
it's just a fucking job. It's not your god. It's like
it's the leader of the country I live in. So I don't care if they're left or right. I want them to succeed because if they succeed, I succeed. Yeah. I gotta pee already, but what is that?
Me.
Oh, I was like,
fucking band idols.
What?
Basically the equivalent of like what I would say like is a leftist. Like they're fucking scumbag punk rockers who like one of the lines in one of the songs is like I'm like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I put homophobes in coffins. So like I've never been like us because I grew up in the country. I grew up like fist fighting and shit, and like I just was able to get out and see a different world. You know what I mean? And so, like, when I see these guys and what the shit they're talking about, I'm like, I don't want this, like, soft left world that a lot of the, like, corporate left wants. I want, like, self-sufficiency. But I don't want people fucking starving in the streets when, you know, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like a waste of resources, a literal fucking waste of resources. Because it's going to be me and everybody else who has to take care of these people because the ones at the top couldn't be bothered to fucking put anything back in.
That's how I've described it before. It's like, so let's you know, because you often hear from the, be like, oh, like, yo, like, it's all rainbows and sunshines. That's what the left wants. And it's like, no, let's go down the road of just looking at it purely. Let's look at it as pure profit. Let's just look at it purely as a psychopath or an AI. It's just looking at the equation. Is it not in your interest? Let's look at each country as a superorganism and the economy as the fucking mitochondria, and you want it to be the most efficient energy producing machine that it can be. Is it not in your interest to make sure that none of the constituent parts die? Like, I'm not saying give them everything, but like giving them something is going to be far less energetically and financially taxing than losing that piece. And because you have someone die, if you have someone at 30 die, well, dude, there's now, let's say they went to public school, you now have that person who used 12 years of public schooling They use 30 years of public roads and fire departments and police departments. So, I mean, literally, like, let's just break it down as like a cold, hard psychopath.
Yeah.
That you have put 30 years in developing that cog in the machine that you now just let die because you didn't want to give it the bare minimum. Okay, I get it. You're saving by not giving it the bare minimum, but you have now lost. There's an entire sunk cost of 3 decades, and not only that, look at every friend that is now mourning that loss. How does that affect those cogs? That family unit that's now fucked up.
I always look at shit like that. I looked at when I was living in Toronto, I looked at our public transit like that. I was like, how many fucking man hours are lost with people being on this dumb shit, slow ass, and this is like coming from Japan where it's fucking efficiency, shit's on time.
Well, you can't compare. Clean, you can't compare anything to Japan. They are fucking. They are a zero world country. They are.
It's just like
they're living in 3019. Yeah.
The amount of shit that like we just waste so much goddamn time, like moving around and shuffling from here to there.
Yeah.
Like,
it's that's one way I do try to look at it, because like I said, like if I'm not growing, then I'm just jerking myself off with people with similar views. So that's why I'm always trying to challenge myself. So yeah, like, for every person that is, they're taking their life or they're turning to meth because life sucks and they can't make ends meet, or because they're working at Walmart, but the reality is if you gave them, enough for an apartment and food, for all you know, this is an Elon Musk. Like,
exactly. That's always been my thing.
Yeah. There's like some quote, like, I wonder how many Einsteins are farming crops in India barefoot and are going to die having never contributed to the global knowledge base. It's like, no, I mean, I don't think that everyone should be given everything. It's also very easy for me to say that I've never wanted in my life.
Materials. It goes back to like one of our other conversations we have. It's like you have to struggle, but you have to be able to. If you don't have the fucking tools to fix your car, it doesn't matter if someone teaches you. Yeah. You're still not going to be able to fix your fucking car.
Exactly.
Like, I don't care.
It's like anxiety. It's like some anxiety is very beneficial. So I haven't gone to the gym today. Mm-hmm. Right? I woke up at 11. I just fucking slept in. There's a little bit like, all right, man, well, because I do have like a schedule of like how much weight I want to lose. And it's like, all right, well, I got to go to the gym and I got to go to the gym after this. I don't want to. I like going to the gym in the morning, but I'm going to go to the gym after the podcast. They're just it's negligible anxiety, but it's right there. I can't, like in good conscience, like pig out and like not go to the gym. So that's good. But when anxiety gets to the level where it's just wrecking you, and nothing comes from it, you can't go, well, that person's just learning the lesson they need to learn. No, at that point, like, that person needs a Xanax or a warm shower or a hug or something, because they're no longer benefiting from it. No, don't give everyone everything, but like at a certain point, and you don't have to look at it from like, unicorns and rainbows and let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Like, no, very simply, look at it from just like a ruthless corporatocracy standpoint. You don't want how much money have you invested into that cog? And you're just, the $100 you're arguing against not giving it is nothing compared to the $1 million it took to form it, I
think it comes down to like dignity, dignity of person, and being told by society, you work hard, you'll get X, Y, and Z, and just having year after year, more losses, more. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? I can sit around and like it's gonna be the same shit.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's going to excel in a society like that. You know what I mean? Because it's like you look at the society and you fucking lost hope. Yeah. Because like your country or province or whatever city can't even get its shit together. You're like, why the fuck is this expectation on me?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And that's what can happen. I mean, it's not a good way to think about it, but I understand where the thought process comes from.
Yeah. Why try? No matter what, I get no matter what, there's food on the table. Yeah. No, I think that really, it comes down to just energy conservation, the most base form of like evolution and self-preservation. Why expend energy if the food's still going to be there? Yeah. Now, granted, it manifests as
human nature.
I'm 500 pounds and I'm going to play Xbox all day, but like, it's that's at the base. It's human nature. So, let's go back to what we were talking about. Can you explain, like, granted, you're in Canada, you're in Canada, but can you explain, like, at least from your standpoint, like, just the Democrat candidates, just for someone like me that wants to learn.
The ones that I like have paid attention to.
Not your preference, just your explanation of them.
Buttigieg seems popular, but he seems just like another corporate America plant. Okay. Like he's just with just a sheen, and he's gay basically, and he served in the military, but he's like a fucking Manchurian candidate. So like one day he's just gonna wake up and he's just like, there's no rules for rich people. Like, I guarantee it, right?
Yeah,
I guarantee
they're going to say the activation code.
Exactly. Warren is someone who's like, you know, when you meet that, like, girl who's, like, super left in college, but, like, was really sheltered her whole life. Like, her parents are right-wing, but she's a lefty. But just despite her parents, hasn't really necessarily gone out there and, like, it's just kind of like scolding people at parties and not really doing anything.
Capitalism sucks from my iPhone kind of thing.
Basically, yeah, exactly. Okay. Whereas, like, to me, Sanders, like, you can find shit about him getting, like, assaulted in the 50s, like, standing up for black people, or, like, yelling at senators who use the word homos in the military back in the 80s. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm a simple guy. I see someone who sticks to their fucking guns over my whole lifetime and beyond. I kind of got to listen to them, man. That just takes some respect.
Sure.
Like, that's just what I'm like, right? I'm very much a fucking, like, even though he's a socialist and, like, I feel like some shit's got to give a little bit. Like, some big cuts and changes need to be made because it's gone so far the other way. So many people are fucking strangled, right? Just for resources. It's like, from an economic standpoint, it's like somebody dammed up the fucking lake and now nobody's getting any river water anymore. Okay. You know? Whereas we used to get, like, you know, we all drank. Yeah. We all got water in a day. Now, you know, some people don't get water in a week, you know, and it's like, well, something fucking happened because it's still raining the same amount. Okay. In fact, they say it's raining even more. So, yeah, what the fuck's going on, right? So that's kind of where my thing comes from. And when it comes to Sanders, he doesn't seem to want to, like, leave anybody out, right? Like, if he wouldn't give a fuck if you, like, took your Trump hat off and was like, all right, I'm with you, old man. He'd be like, welcome. Like, he was not going to call you, like, a degenerate or whatever. It's just like, even the followers are very much like that. That's why they got successful in Iowa. Like, Iowa's not a high-class, like, state, right? It's pretty, like, fucking salt of the earth. Mm-hmm. And just by doing, like, saying the shit that they're going to do, it's just take care of the actual middle-class, blue-collar worker. You know, that's all they had to fucking say. And people are like, oh, like, you're really going to get us jobs? And then they show the track record. He's never been about globalism. He's never been about exporting jobs out of America. He's always been into unions and, like, strengthening the worker class and the worker base. And holy fuck, that's what we need right now. We have no manufacturing other than, like you said, weapons and, like, a very small fucking section of technology. And then even most of that is just sent overseas. How the fuck are we ever supposed to get ahead? Ever. Like, it's just stupid. I don't know.
No, this is exactly what I want. Please.
It's like when a coach comes in and, like, takes his fucking team that he sees, he can sense their weaknesses, where they are, and he comes to them. You know what I mean? Instead of berating them, you're not trying hard enough, you're a fucking failure, whatever. He goes to that kid being a stand-in for the American citizen, and he goes, what the fuck's up? What ails you, man? And we fucking work it out, and then you get a star player out of that person. You know what I mean? As opposed to just being like, you're a bitch, get on the sidelines or whatever, and then you fucking lose another season, and you lose another season, and you lose another season. Sure. You know, but this is a country, and people's lives are on the fucking line. Mm-hmm. So losing a season just means losing economic power, means losing connections to allies, like all sorts, and that all feeds into, like, security as well. You know, if you have a dumb, easily manipulated population, other countries are going to notice that and then just start fucking with you. Yeah. So my socialism comes from wanting to strengthen and educate the people around me so that we can protect ourselves from actually malicious shit and people who don't want us to succeed. Yeah. That comes from.
Yeah. No, dude, keep going. This is
it's not like I believe in some fucking leftist utopia where everything is free. That doesn't fit my worldview whatsoever. In my ideal world, if you want to have like capitalism and innovation, treat it like we treat the Olympics or any professional sport. A set of fucking rules, and then within those rules, fucking go for it, man. And then you would have crazy innovation because you have real, like, people actually fucking competing. You know what I mean? Like, all the data would be out there, all their fucking numbers. Like, every company would be like a player. They'd have stats, performance. And you know what? If some companies couldn't fucking cut it, then guess what? You don't get to play anymore, right? Go find something else to do, right?
Sure.
But like, that's what it is. But nowadays, I see all these fucking companies, they can't even afford to be in business unless the government, like, lowers wages or like fucking suppresses unions and all this bullshit. So I'm like, fuck these cunts. Like, you know, I have no interest in that. That's not real competition to me. That's like three rich guys showing up in Ferraris when it's an open race, and then everybody else is given like fucking Corollas. It's like, well, we gave you a car, and the fuck you, man. Like, it's like, yeah. Oh, okay, right. So.
No, this is what I want to hear. This is what I need to hear. Rob, you're at the podcast. You're at the wheel. I'm sitting in the passenger seat now.
Yeah, man. It's just like, I'm just, when it comes to like the reasons I'm left, are not because I believe in being lazy or anything. It actually comes from my want for. I wish all of my friends had their own businesses, and I wish they could just, because like the people I know and the people I keep in my life are competent, capable people. You know what I mean? Like, when I see my friend who like used to be like in one of the bands, and knowing how talented he is musically and what a great guy he is, how hard he's worked, how hard his family's worked in this country and the things they've done. And like, he's got to sell beer at a brewery, which he likes, but at the same time, you're like, what the actual fuck? Like, this guy should be touring the world, you know what I mean? Because his fucking music and his talent is insane, but unfortunately, you know, we don't live in a fucking world like that. We live in that world where that guy who's amazing and has an amazing wife and kid has to fucking hustle just to make ends meet, and may never, unless given help. Like, that's why I try to push people and encourage people to do shit, because I believe in them. I don't do it so that I can be like, oh yeah, I knew that person. It's like, no, man, like, I know you can fucking do this. I have this is the weirdest thing about me, is like, I believe so strongly in that there are good, like, smart people who are capable of things beyond their reach, but I never like can put that on myself. Even though people have said it and shit, it's not something I can embrace. So I get it that it's one thing to say it and another thing to actually execute.
No, keep going. I'm enjoying this. Keep going.
Well, no, it's just like, I don't know. I like, ask me some questions, I guess, because like I could just go. Okay. I don't even know where to go right now.
Well, the first thing is I'm gonna go pee again.
All right, fair enough.
I need to get sponsored by some pharmaceutical company. You buy Depends. Piss your pants in style and confidence. No leakage. So question.
You know, it's a good place to start. I think, like, just like, I think I might be like a good intermediator between like leftists and right wingers, just because like because I grew up in the country and shit. Like, I'm basically like an educated redneck, if that makes any sense. I'm a redneck who left my town and like fucking saw the world, and now I'm back. Yeah. But like, I can still talk to rednecks. I still know how they work, and like, it's just, I think country people don't like softness. Like, if you're too soft and like, which is funny because I'm like a super emotional dude. Yeah. But like, I know how to channel that into like passions and just like conviction more than anything. Yeah. Whereas I think a lot of the time, people out here, they believe certain things, but they see, like, so for example, we're in the middle of a conservative government right now, but they've
in Canada
completely in the province, but they've completely fucked the province.
How so?
Like for long term, right? Like we're in the midst of teacher strikes right now because they're trying to make class sizes up to like 45 people. Like, and it's just like, don't fuck with education. Like, do not start fucking with that, because next thing you know, we're fucking Alabama of Canada. You know what I mean? It's like, I loved Alabama, but holy shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Even compared to like some of the public schools in Georgia, we got fucking lucky, right? That we went to Pius and got like a real education.
Yeah.
Like the first year of high school in Georgia, I was at Chambly High.
Oh, Jesus.
It was not the same. No. I got like 107% in science, and I played Game Boy most of the year. So like, that's the fucking equivalent. Like one thing Canada does have strong is our public education. Like it's decent, it's solid. We kind of get you to the equivalent of like what a public education in 10th grade would be by 8th grade here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why like I was able to come, even though I was like expelled from my high school here, I was able to go to the States and be like, oh, I already know this thing.
Yeah.
I'm passing the test.
Yeah.
It was so, and like everybody needs that shit.
Yeah. So but you said your province is fucking that over? Yeah,
just because we got basically low grade Trump, if you will. He's just like a rich boy troll. He drove his dad's business out of business. He used to be a hash dealer in the 70s, and like the family's just like, do you remember Rob Ford?
Yeah.
The crack smoking mayor? Yeah. Our premier is his brother.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So that just fucking tells you what we're dealing with right now.
Rob Ford, holy fuck, what a character guy was.
This is Doug Ford now.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. So.
Rob Ford did have a funny quote, though. He was like, some political opponent, some chick was like, he was doing like someone came up to him with a microphone. They're like, she said that like you've been like coming on to her sexually. He's like, that's gross. That's disgusting. I'm in love. I have a wife at home. And this woman said that like I want to eat her pussy. Like, no, thank you. That's not how I am. And by the way, I have plenty to eat at home. Thank you.
Yeah. That.
I thought that was funny as shit, but yeah, no.
See, that's the thing. Canadian politicians say a little more because our house, like our. I would say our government is a little more like the British, where when all the representatives are together, they'll fucking yell at each other. They'll like boo each other from like just for standing up, and like it's a fucking shit show some of the time, right? So it's not as like nice and decorum that the American Senate is, where like it's silent and one person is standing. No, it's like a small room. Yeah, and they're all just like fucking sitting over each other screaming shit.
Maybe you guys need to reanimate Rob Ford.
No, nobody wants him back. He fucked the city too. Like
really?
It's again just cronies, right? They got their rich buddies. So for example, he's trying to bring in the Liberals before were trying to bring in a carbon tax. But they were going to hit basically the middle class and the poor with it. The people who basically didn't make any money off of creating carbon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically he took that and used it as a way to get elected. Basically exact same shit. Our Democrats, which are liberals, suck. They're like actually pretty far right. And our conservatives have become just Republicans now. Whereas conservatives in the past we're just like more like just middle right kind of, and same with our leftists or middle left. And then we have 4 parties that are major in Canada. So there's Liberals, Conservatives, which are clear, and then NDP, which is New Democratic Party. They're more of a almost like a left independent, if you would. And then there's the Green Party, which is the Green Party everywhere. And then we have Bloc Quebec, which is like this little independent Quebec party that never wins anything, but they're still there.
the fighters, Bloc Quebec.
The French. Dude, the loud French.
This podcast is sponsored by Bloc Quebec.
Yeah.
We fight even when we have no chance. That's what this podcast is. 80 subscribers, 30 videos. Hey, we're taking on the media. Yeah. We're taking on them all.
That's all right. This podcast wouldn't even be allowed there because it wasn't simulcast in French as well. So.
Really? Fuck.
Okay. But it is true. They're like so hardcore with their French in Quebec. So
I saw some video yesterday. It was like, actually, it's, you know, it's stupid. It's like a lowbrow meme. I don't even want to repeat it. It's just stupid. And mainly because it's like a 10-second video and it's not something I can explain so much to show you. I've already spent more time on it than I need to. What do you think would be like the most disruptive thing to politics?
The internet. Just actually what's happening right now is the most destructive thing that's happened to politics in probably 200 years is like this pulling the power away from the entrenched structures and just fucking. So for example, a great example is in Iowa. They tried to do a bunch of bullshit like last minute changes of polling places and like all this kind of bullshit. And in the past, like 80s, 90s, they could do this stuff and basically shut down an entire candidate.
Sure.
But nowadays, literally they would go to the office, they tell them, oh, we've changed this, blah, 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 blah. Motherfuckers would just hop on their phones and like 10,000 people knew in 5 minutes. Okay, everybody, don't go here, go here.
Yeah. And
that alone, just information, speed of information, and people working together for a common goal will change it. It's just we were so fucking beat down. Like, look at the age we grew up in. We were basically taught that like politics doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Like maybe we were told that it matters, but we were shown that none of this fucking matters, right? So I think it's coming into our own and realizing that like we're the ones who have to be in power now. Like, and that just because people are older and have more experience doesn't mean they have wisdom or like direction or any fucking idea what's going on. Sure. A lot of them are dumb as shit. Let's be real. Yeah. They've just lived in a bubble, and that bubble has raised them to a certain place. Yeah, because they're not challenged by anyone real. They're not fucking, they're always treated with baby gloves.
Yeah.
But they're put in front of cameras, and so everybody thinks they're fucking important. So.
That's true.
Yeah, man.
What all happened at Iowa? I keep hearing it. Like I said, I purposely didn't look into it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to have a podcast.
It was just like there was some fuck up. The main thing was there was an app developed.
I heard
to track all of the caucus members or whatever. I can't remember.
Didn't one of the guys buy it?
Sure. Pardon?
How do you say it?
Buttigieg. Yeah, he was.
Didn't he buy it?
So okay, yes, and it kind of was funny because that kind of shit broke while he was on live TV. So
how can he buy an app? How can a fucking
candidate buy a voting app? A shell company.
What is the Iowa Caucus? I don't even fucking know what that is. I'm realizing as I'm talking, I'm like, well, the Iowa, and then I'm like,
okay, so registered Democrats. It's the same. There would be a Republican one, but nobody's opposing Trump. So basically, it's where all the registered people of a party come together to decide, okay, within this state, who are we going to choose as our person to go up against a Republican candidate? So a caucus member would just be somebody who's like officially on paper part of the party.
Okay.
And has signed up to be like, yeah, I want to say. It's super undemocratic, actually. And usually ends up being like a bunch of fucking rich people in like small towns and shit that come together to try to decide. But this time it was upturned because people showed the fuck up. Like, and then just blew the other delegates out of the water, I guess.
But what is even
But the big thing was the app. The app was developed by this shell company, I believe, called Shadow. I'm not even making this up. Owned by another company called Acronym. like, you can't make this shit up.
We live in a simulation, dude. This is
right.
This is the devs are fucking with us.
Yeah.
Let's see if they pick up on it.
Apparently, this whole company that developed the app was staffed by former like Clinton people, former Obama people, all like people way up with connections to those people, right? Sure. So they're just trying to do the old fucking, oh no, let's get Joe in or whatever. Yeah, let's vote our friends in again. Nobody wants the scary old Jewish guy who's gonna yell at us and tell the truth.
No, let's put in have some pop and we'll,
right?
Yeah. Have
Like,
some
literally.
pop and go watch the Yankees. Like,
And I heard one story about like the Bernie supporters on the ground in Iowa, like one of Trump supporters. They said it was easier to turn a Trump supporter than it was to turn like a Warren or a Biden supporter. Because some of the people they would go to, and they'd be like, "Why'd you vote for Trump?" And they'd be like, "Well, because he hated Hillary." He's like, "You know who Hillary really fucking hates? Bernie Sanders."
yeah, that is true.
Right?
That's a fucking valid selling point.
And you know what? There's no fucking pictures of Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton at parties together and fucking at each other's weddings and shit like that. So,
yeah, very true. And Hillary Clinton.
I like a man who can make enemies that I hate.
Yeah.
Like, I got respect for that.
What about that Hillary Clinton quote? I would love to see Donald Trump run for president one day because he can't be bought and he's honest. Like, she never said that about Bernie.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even Obama said in his thesis at Harvard that Donald Trump is the American dream. That never gets brought up. In his fucking thesis paper, he said Donald J. Trump is the American dream. But yeah, no, I didn't think about that. That's, hey, you hate Hillary? Guess who fucking also hates Hillary?
Yeah.
Okay, Trump went.
And guess who Hillary hates even more than Donald Trump?
Guess like Hillary lost to Trump in an election. Hillary just rat fucked Bernie and took it from him.
Yeah, exactly.
Which she did. That never gets brought. That never gets brought up. She
totally stole that fucking shit.
Absolutely. And I've said this
before. That's why they're so adamant, and they're not playing the like, oh, poor us. They're just like getting in there, bang bang. Let's get fucking move to the next state. Like they're not fucking around because
for the record, this podcast does not condone shooting candidates.
No.
Well, I'm
a foreign agent.
Yeah, there's some dumb shit that's gonna be like, well, did you see that they had done the finger guns?
These violent leftists.
You can see the American flag in the background. He's got his hunting colors on. I don't know about you, Bob, but I think this could be Russian collusion. Back at 7 o'clock, we have our sponsors from Northrop Grumman here. We're gonna but that's a good mindset. You can't just sit there and go, oh, woe is me, you know, they fucked us. Because that doesn't get you anywhere. It gets you brownie points with each other. It doesn't get you real world change. Okay, so, but yeah, no, I always say this. Bernie would have beat Trump in 2016. I think he would have. Or it would have been extremely close.
If he can get through this.
But that's the problem, is he has to get through his own shit.
Definitely be the next fucking president. Like, as sure as I was that Trump was going to be the president, is as sure as I am that this motherfucker is going to be.
Yeah, once it got to Trump and Hillary,
I knew Trump.
I was just like, it's just.
I wouldn't vote for fucking Hillary. Like,
yeah, well, because even some of my friends on the left were just like, I think he's gonna win. Like, I don't want him to, but like, I think he's gonna. And it just seemed like.
Well, because he was saying the proper things, the things that the American people wanted.
Yeah.
For the most part, but then he started like diverging when he couldn't make good on those promises because he would have pissed off all his buddies.
Yeah.
Right? He started changing his focus to like foreign influences and all this kind of shit. Yeah. And it's just like, hold up. Yeah. You came in here saying you were gonna like drain the swamp and blah blah blah, and now you're like firing people because they testified truthfully in front of a court. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, yeah. That's like your girl, like getting a girlfriend, and she's like, "No, I only want you, babe." And every time you go home, there's like a different dude in your living room, and you're like, "Okay, this is only happening like 4 more times, and then I'm fucking fed up."
And then I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna let this happen 6 or 7 more times this month, and then I'm putting my foot down. The
public is so beaten down that's what we've gotten to, right? One more time, but it like never fucking happens.
Yeah, it's one more time, and then I'm going back out and I'm having some more pop with my friends.
Yeah, we need some fucking fire in our spirits. I feel like we're coming out of a generation that got really beaten down and had people who like, but didn't have things like this, didn't have information as readily available. They were told what to fucking think.
Maybe you gotta have someone run that has, and I mean this in a positive way, that has no shame.
Exactly.
That can't be attacked on surface level shit.
Yeah.
Because let's say I'm a legitimate, it's like you want to hit Trump on grab him by the pussy. All right? So because it's like facts are is he's a billionaire and he clearly he For whatever, like him or not, he does succeed in shit he does. Has a lot of shit you can attack him on. So attack him on, grab him by the pussy. Bernie, very consistent over decades. So we can attack him on that. So instead, we got to get a soundbite of him saying socialism, right? What if you had someone that there were no sound bites because they just embraced it? So, like, I'm thinking face tats, dyed hair, like a recovered drug addict, polygamy, you know.
Here, I think you're going a little too far.
No, but think about it. You have to have someone that didn't do anything illegal, or if they have, they've come through rehab. But you have to have someone that, like, you can't attack him on that. You can't attack him on, like, because he's got gold teeth and, like, pink dreadlocks or something. Yeah. You would have to attack him on substance.
Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant move.
That's always what I thought, like, because I've had people tell me before, like, when we've had political discussions, they're like, why the fuck don't you run for something? And I was just like, I don't, like, because I don't like the bullshit, first of all.
Well, no one
but,
does.
like, I understand that, like, who I am as a person and what I stand for, I'd probably make a decent politician because I like talking to people and I like helping people, right? And I don't like bullshit. Well, I don't like bad deals. I like to fucking, if I say I'm going to do something for you, I'm going to fucking do it for you. Then I'm not going to try to fuck you around. That's why I couldn't be a car salesman, right? I was like, fuck this shit. Like, somebody wants to buy a car from me, I'll tell them all straight up what's good, what's bad, and we'll get it. They're here to buy a fucking car. Let's get them a car. I don't have to fucking bullshit them and manipulate them. Like, just go fucking talk to people. Like, you can have a meeting or like a fucking speech once a week, hang out for an hour or two after. Like, if you give a shit, you would do that. But most people don't fucking do that, and they won't. Like, you can't even talk to like your MP or like your local representative here. It's so fucking hard. So we need someone like us who, when you get like trolls and shit, will like seriously just be like, hey sir, shut the fuck up. Does anybody have a better question?
That's
and like, I guarantee you will get cheers from that shit because people are so tired of like everybody being like, oh no, they said that. Like, somebody just wants somebody to tell this class that is keeping them down to sit down and shut the fuck up for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
That's what I'm talking about, man. You got to be like, you know, candidate Bob. Like, here's a picture of you with a stripper in Las Vegas. Now,
and I tipped her handsomely.
If you were just like, yeah, I was 24. I was high on a ton of coke. I went to rehab for it. Not proud of it. No, but man, it happened, and I'm a better man for it.
Like, yeah, you know what? And if that woman had access to a union, maybe I wouldn't have had to tip her as highly.
Yeah,
exactly. She wouldn't have to be working in this sketchy ass. Like, just fucking flip the script on them.
No, you clap your hands, and she comes out from behind stage. And she's wearing nothing. And she's wearing nothing, and you're like, yeah, I do know this woman. I paid her, and you know, and she, That's what you have to do.
Like, fixing my toilet, she did a fantastic job.
Exactly, but you'd have to come out and you just have to own it all.
Exactly.
You'd have to be like, is it true that you? Yeah, I am covered in tattoos. I did some stupid shit when I was younger, and everyone else does. Like, if you just owned it instead of trying to be like, well, I'm a clean cut American, and look at me and look at my smile, red, white, and blue, America, Walmart, Northrop Grumman. No, but if you were just like, yeah, man, I really fucked up. You know, I drove tipsy a couple times. You know, I wasn't faithful with my girlfriend. I was an asshole to my friends. Took money out of my mom's wallet. You know, I was a piece of shit. That was in a dark time of my life. And now, but if you just went on and just owned it. You'd have to show
who relate with that.
Exactly.
The assholes that stand around.
No one can relate to no one can relate to the guy that's got the perfect smile and the Rolls Royce. You can't relate to that. A very small number of people can. But if you're like, yeah, man, I was really depressed. I put a gun in my mouth, but thankfully a friend talked me out of it. There's going to be 10,000 people whose ears prick up.
Exactly. They might not say anything, but you've hit them.
Exactly. It's. Yeah, you're like, you know, is it true that you used to look at this porn? Like, yeah, I went on a streak where I was looking at a lot of porn and eating a lot of McDonald's. Not proud of it, you know? Maybe we should find a way to, you know, fix society so that you don't resort to those things. Like, you'd have a lot more people, whose ears would prick up. And I'm not saying you got to come out and say, I was that guy.
Yeah,
but you could vote that way. It's
fair.
That's what you need, man. Maybe you just got to have, like, a porn star. Yeah, or like a stripper. You have to have someone that, like, you cannot attack because they clearly own it. Now, granted, they'd also have to be qualified and they'd have to have, you know, You can't.
What about a guy from a small town who once had a bounty on his head from his local church because he burnt down a chicken coop in a line of fire or a line of trees? That is me.
You?
I'm now living in the town that I once had a bounty on my head in.
I'm gonna go pee, and I want to hear this story.
Holy shit, you fucking pregnant? All right, I'm gonna make another coffee.
Yeah, I've drank it. The unemployment rate, which was touching double digits 10 years ago, is down to 3%. But Berlin, which thrived through most of the 20th century, hardly feels like blah, blah, blah. More than a decade into the longest economic expansion America has ever known, residents say about the only jobs available pay minimum wage with no benefits as out-of-pocket healthcare costs surge. The last elementary school shuttered last year. Capping a long-term exodus of young families. The once bustling downtown is so scarred by closures, demolitions, and fires that it looks like, according to the city's mayor, quote, like a bomb was dropped in the middle of it. We're hurting, there's no question. We've got no businesses, nothing to attract people. There aren't the kind of jobs here that can sustain a family. I mean, yeah, dude.
I've been watching it happen ever since I was young. Like, all these fucking small towns that used to have small town, like, local businesses. I used to fucking go to a place called Brock's down in Port Perry, which is the local biggest city. Well, not even a city. It was like a big fucking town. But it had like a main street, had like a chocolatier, a place we went close. It had a bookstore, like everything, banks, whatever you needed, town hall. And now I drive down that street, it's fucking dead. And there's just like a gigantic Walmart that's been here for a couple of years. And like there's strip malls everywhere. And it's just like, fuck me. Like it's coming here too. Like, and that shit doesn't bring jobs. It just brings fucking minimum wage misery, man. Yeah. Here too.
Yeah.
Like even here. Like,
yeah, fuck. Man. Yeah, dude, it's
like I'm lucky to have a job that is at a small company where they give benefits and they give time off, and the pay is not amazing, but like I know what I'm capable of, so I know I can hustle and renegotiate pay.
Yeah.
Because I've done that before, and like I've worked in business and shit like that. But there's a lot of people who can't. But they work just as hard, but they're just not good at like negotiating on their own behalf. And it kind of seems like bullshit that like just because I'm 6'5" and I can walk into my boss's, you know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of even intimidation from that. Like, absolutely. Look at CEOs. Most CEOs are over 6 feet, and like there's physical shit. And so it's like, why shouldn't the girl next to me who's only like 5'1", but knows way fucking more than me and busts her ass and like helps me out when I'm like, what the fuck's going on? She should be getting more money than me. Like, absolutely. Like, yeah, what the fuck? Like, it's stupid.
It's, you know, man, I need to listen. How long are you able to go today? Don't let me keep...
maybe like another hour. I gotta change some stuff.
Okay, no, because like I always say, I can go forever. I did a podcast with JP, Very Honest Friend, the other day.
Yeah.
After editing, it was at 4 hours and 10 minutes. We went for 5 hours and 30 minutes.
Jeez.
Yeah, which was fun as fuck. I want to do a marathon podcast. I want to get.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Like a 24 hours where like people just come in and go out. Like,
well, no. The thing is it has to be consistent, because I don't want. Because then that is just that, to me, that's a cop out, because you could line up like 5 different guests, and to me it's just like that's not really a 20. Like I could have. Oh,
you want to do it like a one-on-one with somebody?
Yeah. To me that's like Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo, and Alex Jones did a 4 hour and 40-minute podcast. Mm-hmm. That might be my favorite podcast of all time, because it's so ridiculous.
Sure.
It's that's what I want to do. Is I want to get like you and JP, and just like I just want set tiny goals. Eventually, like 24 hours, but set tiny goals. So right now edited is that's the final time, right?
Yeah.
Because I now cut out as of like episode 15. I now cut out bathroom breaks. So, as you've seen, it needs to happen. I cut out bathroom breaks, coffee breaks, and unfortunately there is speech censorships just because I want to get monetized and I can't.
I think it's like in the first minute you can't swear, I believe is what it is.
You can't well, I'm fucked because every video starts with like, "What the fuck's up, man?" Like,
So I just know this from watching other guys who do, like Game Grumps. They're like live stream. So basically, it's just like two dudes like shitting on each other while they play video games, right?
Yeah.
And they've done incredibly well because the fucking chemistry between them is amazing and they're fun to listen to. But they always, every video you listen to, the first minute is like very tame, and then they just fucking go off the deep end because they get past the monetization area.
I didn't know that, man. Well, shit, I need to. I didn't.
That's all right. It's a learning process.
It is a learning process. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I want to post editing time. Yeah, I'd like to. So right now the record's 4 hours and 10 minutes post editing.
Yeah.
So I want to get to. And that was 5 hours. We had some technical difficulties. Internet was cutting out, but that was 5 hours and 30 total.
Yeah.
My next goal is to do 5 hours post editing, so probably like 5.5 with bathroom breaks. But I just want to keep inching it up, and you can't do it with every guest because there's only so much interesting shit to say. It has to be, I think, with more like people like you and JP, people I'm friends with, because like you can have on interesting guests, but like. The purpose of that guest is like you have that episode is the woman the powerlifter that was about powerlifting, and when we said everything there was to say, you can't really. I can drag anything on forever, but like I don't want to. That person's giving me their day. I don't want to abuse it. I had on a guy yesterday that accidentally joined a cult. We talked about it for like 2 hours, and then it was just kind of. He literally was like, and that's all I have to say about that. I was like, all right, thanks for coming on.
Well, yeah, it's different. It's because JP and I have like personal history.
Exactly.
A past we can like touch to. So
it's also
like I guarantee you, there's going to be a good hour of me and JP just like making inside jokes from when we were.
Oh yeah, that's fine, dude. I'll just sit. I don't care. I'll be the little guy up in the corner. But I think we can get that one to 5 hours. I believe. I believe.
Just like. Yeah. I mean, as long as it's on a day where I got the time, I'm totally down. Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you down? Are you down for the one we're doing this weekend?
Yeah. What was the date again? I'm pretty sure.
I gave you a time because I remember you said I'm a professional. God damn it! Give me a date and time. So I gave you.
I did do that. Yeah, and then I totally fucking forgot.
Rob and JP 5 p.m. But I just chose that as an arbitrary time. I'm free all day that day.
Yeah.
Saturday, February 15th.
Saturday. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. We need to get JP to see if we can start earlier.
Yeah, what's-her-face chick tried to reschedule till Saturday, but I haven't heard from her since Saturday, so I'm guessing that's a no-go.
Well, if she reschedules, dude, take the date. The podcast can wait.
Yeah, I'll do what I gotta do, but like...
It's going to be 5 hours of us talking about dick jokes. You can...
I don't know. I'm not holding out hope on this one.
Yeah, but it's like what I tell everyone. Mom, like, it's almost like the equivalent of like, don't quit your day job. Like, the podcast is fun and I appreciate it. But don't. Yeah. I tell everyone, please don't make a single sacrifice for me. You live your life first.
Yeah. No, I think my problem is I get too excited about shit. Like, because I'm really passionate. Like, I have a lot of passion for things. Dude, so, like, I come by it honestly. I'm that guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. So, like,
no, you and I
don't have time for, like, weird games. Like, oh, I'm not really interested in you. And da-da-da. Like,
oh, she ghosted me. And then she texted me back. What does that mean?
Well, yeah.
Bitch, do you like me or not?
If you tell me you're looking for someone who's going to be your, like, forever guy, and then I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Hey, basically, it got weird. Where she canceled on Saturday, which I was like, that's cool, whatever. But then I had the rest of Saturday, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And her thing was like, she didn't want to come up here. She'd have to turn right back around, basically, and go to a party. So I was like, I could swing by your area and meet for like 30 minutes, drink. I just need to meet people. Like, that's my thing. I have no expectations. If we don't hit it off, then good. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
But now I'm stuck in this fucking situation of like, am I doing this? What is happening here? Like, can you just fucking, It's it's almost like a job interview for me. Like,
it is.
Set a date, set a time, and then shit can be like casual after that. But I gotta know who the fuck you are. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just a text and a picture.
There's a quote. There's a quote I heard that I read it like a week ago, and I think that one quote has probably given me more knowledge into the dating scene than I have in my entire 29 years of living. And it was, if she likes you, you'll know. If she doesn't, you'll be confused.
There you go.
And I just was like
nobody likes me.
No, you're just
always confused.
I'm always confused. I had my pants on backwards. Well, no, that doesn't always apply to that. That just might be like you're confused. But it's to me that makes so much sense. Is like,
and then there's like this other girl who's like kept swiping on me, and every time I swipe back, but she just like never responds. It's like the third fucking.
That's stupid games.
Like, bitch, shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I say on my profile, I'm like, I'm looking for women who are fearless and like introspective and have some like mindfulness about them.
Yeah. It'll work.
If you show up on my and like play it like all like safe and like it's cool. I'll take your time. I'm not like pushing to get married next week, but fucking engage. That's it. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get it as well. Like it's a two-sided thing because it's like there's a lot of creepy ass dudes who just won't fucking leave people alone.
Yeah.
You know, like they won't take a hint.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm just searching for that fucking hint. You know.
Yeah.
Just be like, yo, dude, no.
Yeah.
Sweet. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Off my list.
Yeah, exactly,
I don't have to worry about it
exactly.
anymore.
Just a respectful. Let's go our ways. I need to find out. I need to find out how to get monetized outside of YouTube. I need to find out how to get like a sponsor or something.
Because I don't try Twitch as well.
I don't know what that is.
Twitch is just like a live stream, but it's very much the same. Usually, it's used for video games, but there's people who just get on there and do like Google Hangouts and shit like that too.
Yeah, I need to find out like because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, so I don't want to like bank on YouTube monetization when YouTube is notorious for just being shitty about it.
Yeah, they just change their shit.
They just yeet channels, and they're just like, "Hey, I know you've been creating thousands of hours of content for a decade, demonetized, no warning, no strikes, gone, peace."
So you need to like work on merch. That's one thing that entertainment taught me is you make more fucking money on t-shirts and buttons and shit than you do at shows and anything else like that. Like I used to run shows and you get like you get like a bar. If you're lucky, you can get a bar deal, but it's usually a door deal. Right? But then like when it's a smaller band or like a newer band, like a third of those people are getting in for free just to bring bodies into the bar because like it's just what you have to do. You can't charge everybody $5 to $10 just to go see a band they don't know. Right? The randos off the street, motherfucker, like you're probably paying $5 because you're half in the bag already and you want in here. So but like to fill the place, like when I used to run shows, the biggest show we ever had was like close to 400 people in attendance, and that was like an album release party. And I was working the door for a lot of it just because it was the show I put on. But there was like a shit ton of people that like friends of bands and like wives, girlfriends, and they have their friends and stuff. But like you don't even care. You're like, all right, this would have been an extra $15, but now it's like 3 hot girls or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every so often they go for a cigarette and that brings in like 2 more guys. And like when they come in. So you have to music taught me in terms of capitalism, that's not just like money is important, absolutely, but you won't necessarily get the most amount of money just chasing money.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, I get that entirely.
There's a lot of FOMO in entertainment, like if you're missing out, being in the in crowd or whatever. What's like FOMO? It's very ego driven going out to bars and clubs and shit like that.
I don't. What I'm driving towards is like, I'm not like. Let's focus group this thing. Let's corporatize it. Let's get I'm looking at it for enough money to pay for
niche because not everybody's going to give a shit about you, which is just natural, right? Everybody has their own things, but because of the way the internet is set up, find your niche, and you'll have your like crew of people that will, buy Tommy's podcast T-shirts or like whatever the final name ends up being. And
I just need to get
there.
I need to. Fuck, my feet are stuck. I need to just get enough for rent. Like that's all I want to be able to like move out. Like I'm not like Daddy needs a new Bentley. Like no, dude, I got a Civic. I'm fine. I'm
the same way. Like I'd rather. My dad has to. Like this is so weird for me living at home again. That like my dad has to tell me stuff like you can use the brush like because I'm so used to just like no like I'm no need any help or whatever. I'll move this for you. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I guess struggling on my own kind of hardwired into my brain to not ask for as much help as I probably should have needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of sucks because some things I could have probably been farther ahead in, but it's a learning process, right?
So you had a bounty on your head?
Yeah. For burning down an abandoned chicken coop.
You have to. You can't just say that. You have to. You have to tell the story.
So when we were kids, this is a very small town I live in, and we all hung out at the park, which is at the center of town, and because it's Canada and it gets cold as fuck here, when you're hanging out outside and the sun goes down, you always like just try to find some place to hide or whatever.
Yeah.
So we found an abandoned chicken coop that was right next to the church hall in town. And so we used to just smoke pot in there and drink or whatever.
Naturally.
I remember one night, I think I just got super fucking stoned and I was just playing with a lighter, and I think I left an ember. Like, it wasn't purposeful, but it happened, and it was me. And I left an ember on the dirty ass carpet that was in there. And then we went outside or something, and then we looked back in the window, and the fucking flames were just like the whole thing inside. And so we took off to, actually, maybe you can see it. You can see most things from everywhere in this town. There's like a gigantic, hold on, maybe you can see it over here. It's a gigantic hill in the back.
Uh-huh.
So we ran up that motherfucker because you can see everything in town from it. And hold up, I lost my head.
You're fine.
And then we just watched the thing burn. We watched the fire department show up. But then we couldn't cut through town because we were afraid we were going to get caught. So we went around all through the cow fields, got shocked by an electric fence. And this is like dead of winter, so like 3 to 4 feet of snow everywhere. Just
Jesus.
Trying to slog through all these fields just to cut to the literal other side of town and hide. And then eventually one day 2 detectives came to my house.
Oh fuck.
And they were asking about.
How the fuck did they figure it out?
They had my name. What's that?
How the fuck did they figure it out?
Because teenagers have big mouths.
Someone talked.
Yeah, exactly.
Snitches get stitches. Fuck that kid.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, I never figured out who it was, and I was literally within 3 weeks of that. I was in Atlanta, something like that. Like, that was the final straw for my dad, I think. And then I got sent away because he couldn't trust me. He was like terrified because he believed me even when I lied, bold-faced fucking lied to those 2 detectives. Like, he thought, oh, like, that's gonna scare him straight, and that didn't even fucking faze me. So like, he's like, this kid's terrifying. He just like fucking straight up lied to these 2 detectives who were standing in our living room with me right behind him. Didn't break a sweat. He was this fucking monster child. But so like, I don't blame him. Yeah. I learned how to lie from my mother, who was phenomenal at it. So, but when I moved to Atlanta, my uncle basically taught me that, like, you're fine as you are. Like, you don't have to lie about a bunch of shit, and you don't have to.
That's cool.
You just be you. That's probably why I ended up being friends with John. Yeah. So, like, close friends. It's because, like, he didn't care who I was. He was just, or he liked who I was for me, right? And we had a lot of the same interests and kind of same quirks, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool way to look at it. You don't have to lie. You can just be you. Because, I mean, a lot of lies
sometimes it works.
Huh?
And sometimes it works.
Yeah. It's, it's not all lying comes from you're trying to not get in trouble or be deceptive. Sometimes it can just be you don't like who you are, so you want to put up an image. Something
that
else.
Was where mine came from. I just self-hatred. Never thinking I was good enough. Even for the equivalent, like, for most of my relationship, I didn't realize it, but I was always like, I was always looking for, like, an escape. And for the longest time, even though I spent 11 years with a woman, the whole time didn't feel like if I asked her to marry me, that this was a person that I could, like, trust with my life, which is a weird.
It is, yeah.
So now I guess I'm searching for, I know it sounds cliche, but I'm like literally looking for that first woman who I feel comfortable asking, you want to get married? You know what I mean? And this is shit that I never thought I'd even care about, because there's so much divorce and stuff in my family that I was kind of jaded by marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now I kind of see, some of the good aspects when it's healthy and it's good and it's used to enrich both people's lives.
Yeah. You're ride or die. Yeah. So how did your dad find out you burned down the coop? Because if you lied to the detectives,
I think the detectives knew I was lying, but they couldn't do anything about it because they had my name. So I don't know. I think I just admitted it in the end or something. I think the pressure was too much. There's a bunch of shit going on at home, so
you're like the bored serial killer. I want to get caught.
There's nothing to do in this fucking town. Like, if you don't have a car or anything, you're a 14-year-old kid. You don't have parents that take you anywhere or any hobbies. It's fucking degrade.
There's also just something that's, granted, you didn't do it intentionally. There's something that's just so seductive about fire.
Yeah, of course.
It's always fucking just like puts me in like a trance watching fire. There's just it seems like magic, and it's like, I think this is like one of like the warning signs for psychopaths. It's like an enchantment from fire, or like a fascination, maybe arson.
No, I feel like that's human nature, because like they said they've done studies with children who like kids who grow up around open flames versus children who didn't, like when they're older, slightly older. So if you take like two 12-year-olds, one who grew up hanging around fires and camping or whatever, and one who maybe have never seen one, the 12-year-old's more likely to just be enchanted or whatever, entranced by the fire itself, where the one who doesn't have the experience with it will try to fuck around with it and like be playing with sticks and shit. So I think it's just natural human curiosity, but just the level of how much exposure you've had to it.
Yeah. Like,
I grew up in the middle of nowhere. Literally yesterday, remember I said like we had a family thing? So what was supposed to be like a small family like pasta Sunday or whatever turned into 30 people skating on my dad's pond, right? And my dad being like, "Well, we need to book a bonfire out here next time."
Yeah.
So like this is like as country as it gets. Yesterday there was like hockey games going on while people in snowmobiles drove by waving to us, and we were all hanging around just drinking beers and smoking joints and shit. So like, but this is the world I grew up in, and so when I say I'm like left, I'm this left. I'm not like pussy hat and like yelling at Starbucks left. No, man. I'm like, I'm like going for a rip there, bud. All right, don't worry. If you crash, we got that socialized medicine. Literally, my brother-in-law 2 years ago yesterday had he fucking crashed his sled into a tree. They had to split him open, right? But that's like didn't cost him a cent, right? And I know it's a stupidity and shit, but like it would have been a father or like a kid out there lost his father for that, right? But now they have a house, they're okay. Their only bills are just like the regular shit, you know what I mean? That you face when you got a kid. They don't have this gigantic looming debt from a one mistake 2 years ago that they can never get past. Like that shit is in the past and only thought of like, "Hey, Brian, remember when you had that accident?" Like, and we're just sitting here reminiscing how scared everybody was. Not, have you paid off the debt that you incurred from your accident? Like, that's a fucking huge thing. And it's not like they don't have stress. Like, they fucking work their asses off, Brian. Like, brother-in-law does construction. My sister, works with, mentally ill people, like, at their living places. And then she's also done work at a bar on the side just to make ends meet. Like they're good, hardworking people, but they just, shit happened, right? Like, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was just like, it could have happened anywhere. It could have happened to anybody having any kind of recreational fun, right? You go skiing, people hit trees. You go hunting. Sometimes you fucking take some buckshot in the ass because some asshole wasn't paying attention. It happens, man.
Dick Cheney. Yeah, dude, that's one thing that's always just intrigued me is like, healthcare for all isn't, and this is coming from someone who I'm labeled as conservative.
Talk openly. Talk honestly.
Yeah. No, I am. It's my podcast. Do whatever the fuck I want. Yeah. Take my pants off, goddammit.
Do it.
Yeah. What now? It's it's not. It is an idyllic pipe dream, but it's also not, because it works in so many countries. First world countries.
Yeah, exactly. With strong economies.
Yeah, not just bumblefuck, you know.
And it also, people don't, the other thing, it's actually very pro-business to have universal health care, because then you don't have every fucking small business out there who wants to take care of their employees having to jump through all these goddamn fucking hoops. Instead, at the end of the year, they just put it in with their taxes. I have X amount of employees, and the shit gets worked out, right? Yeah. There's not like 9 different companies handling all this other bullshit. I don't have to worry that I'm going to show up to the doctor and it'll be like, oh no, you had this insurance, not this insurance, so this isn't covered. Like, we don't have to worry about those things. The only over and above we have is to cover like medications and dentists, like dental. And still a lot of people get dental on their benefit package anyways. Yeah. So. But it gives the companies more money to loosen up, because our administrative costs aren't as much, but our doctors are still fucking rich, and our nurses are still overworked. It's the exact same system. It's just like we all pay a little less overall.
That's just not something that I'm like lockstep with the right in. Like I will always,
because it doesn't make economic sense. That's why you're not, because you're smart and you're thinking it through. It's not a visceral emotional reaction. You're putting the data in and going, wait a second. It's like if we all come together. It's like if you're like got a crew of dudes and like you all have a hobby, let's say snowmobiling, right? But you all need oil for your machines. So you go out and buy 1 case of oil for 160, or do you get together as a team and buy 5 cases because they'll take the tax off? You know what I mean? Like, it's called wholesale, man. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Where did we lose this concept along the way that, no, if we like piecemeal everything out, it's somehow more beneficial for everybody? Like, nah, man.
It's like I mean, we see it at McDonald's. Its value size is always, it's value size. Yeah, it's...
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's just not something that I'm in. But in like the same vein, I will forever be, you know, I will not budge a foot on, like, I think you should be allowed to own guns. Like, people are like, you know, but what I'm saying, I'm saying that is like, so I'm not just like some middle of the line. Like, no, I always think that, you know, agree to disagree. I always think America should have the biggest military in the world. I do strongly believe that. I think it's a zero-sum game in the world. But I also I think healthcare, I don't think we're doing it. I think America is number one in a lot of things. I do not think healthcare is one of them.
No.
I just
not. I can tell you that unabashedly.
Yeah.
Because we, like, Canadians travel to the States and we make sure that we're covered before we step foot in your country, because we don't want to get fucking raped like that. Like, we're not about that shit. Like, we have to inoculate ourselves just to go into the States in case someone T-bones us in a car or like something happens. And then we just walk into the hospital and go, fuck you, I'm from Canada, they'll pay your bill. Yeah, like, we don't care.
Oh, Canada will foot the bill?
What's that? Yeah, we have traveler's insurance for going to the States.
Maybe I need to come up to Canada.
Talk to Sean Robinson. He's been up here since fucking 3 years after high school, I feel. He married a Canadian chick. He actually, last I talked to him, he lives in Port Perry, which is the closest town over. So how fucking weird is that? The guy you went to high school with ended up moving back to your hometown.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, there's a picture of like me, John, and Sean Robinson at our like house in Duluth.
Yep.
I think we're like drinking chocolate milk, or we're like eating cake. All of our faces are covered in chocolate.
Yeah. But he's been up here in fucking Canuck land for, I don't want to say over 10 years now.
Tell Sean to do my fucking podcast, dude.
I'll try to track him down. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I'm almost certain he's still here. Like, I know he had a job and stuff, and him and his I guess wife now.
Just ride your moose over. or whatever all Canadians have.
What's that?
I said ride your moose over to his house. All Canadians have them.
Take the sled for a rip. No, we got ATVs, but no more snowmobiles. There's just not enough snow anymore.
How much snow do you have right now?
What's that?
How much snow do you have?
Like, it just snowed last night, so I shoveled this morning, but I don't know, maybe half a foot. It's not a lot.
I love snow, man. Maybe I should move to Canada.
I mean, find a hot chick. There's lots of them here. Did your brother ever tell you about when he was up in Toronto?
Yeah.
And he just had to keep that fake
the imaginary
going
clicker
for every hot girl he saw.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, man, like that's another aspect of social health care is like I can go like get an STI check, full check, and I don't have to do anything other than write my name down. That's it. I can go in, grab a handful of condoms, they're free. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they try to promote, like, sexual safety and, like, have a fucking great time, but, like, keep the population safe. That's basically the attitude.
You know what, man? Canada's not off my list.
Dude, it's a weird, like, I
love the snow.
Canada is
what
the
cold.
Americans wish, like, with the exception of, like, our military and shit, but, like, it's easier for me to move up into the middle class or higher middle class here than it is just out of hard work and like determination than it would be in the States. Not just because of the things that are holding you back in either place, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Like Canada has problems. Like, don't fucking get me wrong. It's not perfect up here.
There's no utopia.
But there's always someone you can go fucking scream at up here, I think is the point. Like, whereas the States, there's so much like protection and where like people are so separated from the power. Yeah, and just I feel like there's starting to be, and I know because Canada always follows whatever the States does in certain ways, right? So during Obama's era, that's when we got Trudeau, who was basically just like white rich kid Obama. You know, he's good at making speeches and like smiling in front of the camera, but like he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, he's a handsome motherfucker. You can't take that away from him.
Right, exactly. But then like Trump gets elected, and then Ontario, which is like one of the more conservative provinces, goes completely fucking off the rails with like the biggest loser, the biggest fucking joke.
It might have been inverse. You followed Obama with Trudeau. We might have followed Rob Ford with Trump.
I mean, I think maybe, possibly the exposure of Rob Ford
just the insanity
could have helped. Yeah, you're not
like, hey, he did
probably not wrong.
He did it. I mean, dude, Rob Ford and Trump, they've been like him or not, whatever. There is an undeniable fact. They paved the way for a certain level of individual that can get in office now. Like,
you know what? I'm kind of thankful because they paved the way for scumbags like me.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
the people who like were always like abrasive and not really like mainstream,
don't have the polish,
but like still cared about people. You know what I mean? It's just the way I go about it is maybe a little violent or aggressive, but my heart is in the right place. No. You know, sometimes motherfucker just needs to a boot to the face. Like that's just the hard truth of the world. Like nonviolence is great, but when it doesn't work, you sometimes gotta get angry and fucking loud and scare the shit out of some old fucker.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like that's just what it is.
It's like what Duncan said.
You just have to. Like, and I'm not saying go around fucking brown shirting motherfuckers, but like when you find the people who are disrupting shit, just fucking lay into them. Don't let them away. Like, don't let them live in their comfort while they fuck everybody else up.
Yeah,
that's it, man. All these people have fucking addresses and lives. I mean,
it's like what Duncan said. He's like, you know, Gandhi wrote this flowery letter to Hitler about only you can stop this madness. Hitler probably crumbled up the letter. He goes, you know what?
Yeah, exactly.
He goes, you know what ended World War II? The white flash of atomic death. Like, the big dick. That's what ended it. It wasn't, let's hold hands. It was, I'm going to vaporize your city.
Right.
Twice. Yeah, you know, yeah, man. Canada's not off my list. It's either somewhere up north or it's...
You can have guns. You can hunt. You can have land. You can have like
dual citizenship?
Social security. You can have dual citizenship if you choose, right? Because the way Canada recognizes it is different than the way the States recognizes it. So, like, Canada will, like, my uncle does this all the time. When he comes into Canada, he flashes his American passport, but then shows his Canadian passport, and they're like, yeah, come on in.
Yeah.
Right, but doesn't do it on the way in to the States.
Yeah.
So, but he's good, right?
Shit, man, maybe I need to move to Canada. It's Canada or Hawaii. Because I
live in Canada, vacation in Hawaii. That's my plan. I mean, dude, fucking vacation somewhere warm.
Yeah. Well, dude, the thing is, like, I don't have kids, and I never want kids. I don't want pets. I really don't want to be married for a while.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Admittedly, I don't want the traditional. I really don't want a family.
All right, I got the plan. You move up here.
Okay.
We find a compound.
Okay.
We fake gay cohabitate. I get you a visa. Okay. Then we split up and go our own ways, but we still are bros, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get
totally
Sean,
gay marry you into Canada?
Can we get Sean Robinson and JP in this too? Can we gay four-way? Can we make it dramatic?
Four-way?
Can we make it dramatic? Can we have like public breakups? You whore! Just like your brother!
We could change JP's last name to Sanchez and just say, like, he was running away from ICE. Get his whole family up here. We'll be good. Yeah.
That would get us some unwanted attention, because he's a former Air Force drone operator. We'd be fucking with Uncle Sam. That'd be undue attention.
He'd have a job day one up here. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't want, and I don't shit on anyone that does want families. I don't think it's for me. I think I'm overwhelmingly desire to do my own thing. Yeah. And I don't want to have kids, because if I want to do my own thing, I'm going to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. And the reality and the sad truth is, I know I would do that with or without a family. I think I would be a candidate for a deadbeat dad or a father that wasn't around, because if I truly want to do something, I would leave, and that's dark, and that's selfish.
Not really, because you're realizing this shit before you committed.
That's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting to is I acknowledge that, and I'd rather just not even plant those seeds.
So that's just accepting who you are and realizing that. Like,
there's nothing wrong with what I want to be.
Same shit, dude. Same shit. Like, for a while there, I was just like, maybe I don't want just like one. Maybe I want like, just like, because I like women and talking to them, and like, not that I'm like a whore, but like, I'm flirty and talkative, right? So I can get on with chicks from every race, background, whatever. Like, I don't care. I'm easy to talk to when it comes to that kind of shit. But ultimately, I still find myself wanting, like, I think because I didn't have it, that, like, just like a base, a connection, right? Like, so much of my life growing up was chaos. And I remember having these, like, dreams as a child, like, really strong dreams of standing at the bottom of, like, a long flight of stairs, and this woman with, like, white hair, like, gorgeous thin woman with white hair sitting on top of a street light while the snow came down, and all of a sudden she just like jumps down and just kisses me. And it's just like, remember that feeling you said when you're meditating, that like white light, that like encompassing comfort? That's what I felt, and I feel like I've been looking for that woman my whole life.
Yeah, that's completely normal, dude.
No,
dude, that's beautiful. I definitely know.
But at the same time, I got to find someone who wants to kick ass in life and wants to like do something, and not someone that I have to like babysit. Like, you don't want an employee, you want a co-founder. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, with that is, so like my ultimate dream is to get this to where I can pay rent at a shitty apartment and pay for a gym. If I could do that through podcasting, and I don't want kids. So like, I think my dream is very realistic, because it's not like, oh, you want to make enough money on a podcast to support a family. Like, no. I don't want to put kids through St. Pius. I don't want to have a big place.
You're looking for
an apartment
to earn your keep. That's literally your dream, is to earn your fucking keep.
I want to be able to pay for my medications, for a gym membership, to go to Walmart.
Yeah,
and an internet connection. That's why I think it's doable.
Yeah.
I also think once I can do that, it's because it's just a matter of making money on this. It's not like I'm tied down to any one spot. Once I can get this thing monetized, I just want. I don't know where I want to move, but like I have no connections to anywhere. So it's literally like right now in the car in the wheel well. It's like maybe Hawaii, maybe Canada.
Yeah.
It's that's what I mean when I joke about Hawaii and Canada, like I'm not joking. I'm like it could very well like it could be anywhere. I'm fucking starving. I'm gonna go get some food. You wanna wrap this up?
Yeah, sounds good, man. I gotta go fix my car.
Rob, thank you for coming on again. This is your 5th episode. You are blowing everyone else out of the water. It is. There's no one holds a flame to you.
Show up.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. Maybe I'll move to Canada. Fuck if I know.
Man. Always keep it on the back burner. It's always a possibility.
Fuck yeah, dude.
All right.
I'll see you on Saturday. If that
sounds good.
If everything.
Yeah. I'll keep you informed.
Word. All right, dude.
All right, man. Have
Peace,
a good
brother.
one.
You too, buddy.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you too. Peace.
Later.